You're listening to The Pete Sheppard Show.
This whole situation is on me. I feel terrible for Gerard because I put him in an untenable situation. I know that he has all the tools as a head coach to be successful in this league. He just needed more time before taking the job. In the end, I'm a fan of this team first, and now I have to go out and find a coach who can get us back to the playoffs and hopefully championships.
Oh, this Patriots owner, CEO Robert Kraft yesterday addressing the media for the first time since the firing of Gerard Mayo. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Pete Sheppard Show, a Tuesday edition, January 7th. It's chilly here in Southwest Florida. Holy cow, 52 degrees. A high today of 61. Get out of here with that nonsense. People in Minnesota where it's like -2 this morning are going, go to hell, Pete. I get it. Welcome to the Pete Sheppard Show here on the Coastal Sports Network. Thanks for checking us out across the video platform. As always, on Twitter, we're at X, follow me at PShep326. Facebook, SR1029thegame.com, our great sports app, CSN Florida, Rumble, Kick, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube, and as always, you can call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Not as much fallout yesterday on Black Monday as far as head coaches go. Besides Doug Peterson, there are some surprises. Brian Daboll and Joe Sheen being retained by the Giants, which I think is a mistake. And Mr. Mara had some comments after. I don't know. He's running out of patience. I don't know. We're going to get into that. Mike McCarthy, could he end up with the Chicago Bears? We will tell you that scenario. That came out late yesterday afternoon. Tell you all the details about that. Mia O'Brien will play a clip. She goes at Shad Khan. Mia was going to join us today, but she's got a very special hair appointment, so she's got to join us tomorrow as well. And we'll get Mia's perspective. She did a great job. We'll play the cut of her going at, not attacking Shad Khan, but asking a very legitimate question. He actually gave a pretty good answer to her very good question. So we'll get into all of that. There'll be a lot of NFL stuff going on today, a little bit of NBA, a little bit of NHL stuff later on. Mick Colagio at 9:05. We'll talk some hockey with him. Before that at 8:30, Jay Flannelly will join me from Ann Arbor. We'll talk about college football and the NFL. He's close to the Detroit Lions as well up there, so everything is hunky-dory until maybe they lose both of their coordinators, although we shall see what happens there. I think the Mike McCarthy thing to Chicago is becoming very, very interesting. And we say good morning. We'll get into it. We'll say good morning right away to Angel Martinez. And it's 13 degrees cooler up in Tampa than it is here. What is up with it? 39 degrees. Good morning, Angel. Buenos dias, amigo. What's happening?
Buenos dias there, Pete. It's 37 degrees here in Tampa.
What?
Yeah.
That is outrageous.
It sure is. We are only getting up to about 55 or so-ish degrees today. Tonight will end up being a colder night where we either will be at the freezing mark or the below freezing mark. So we have covered plants to make sure that those don't get ruined and preparing ourselves. And yesterday with the wind, my neighbor was getting some work done on a house.
Yeah.
And you would have thought everybody was preparing for a hurricane. The way the winds had whipped around here, it must have at one point got up to about 40 miles an hour. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
My. We got 20-mile-an-hour gusts yesterday. But we actually had to close the doors yesterday and put the AC on, which I don't like doing when it's, but the humidity, because it looked like a threat of rain, but like whenever, our AC or our heat thing, or thermostat, which I've yet ever in 8 years down here, put on the heat at any time. I don't mind if it gets to 63 or 64 in the house. It doesn't bother me. So usually we have all the windows open. When it gets down, from when the temperature basically drops below 80 down here in Fort Myers, we try to open the doors, the back lanai, and have a big cross room. We have a big screen in front of our front door, so you get an awesome cross breeze through the house. It's fantastic. And Did that yesterday, and all of a sudden the humidity. We try to keep everything. When the humidity is above like 62%, then you got to put the air on because it gets really damp in the house. You don't want that.
Yep.
But yesterday it went from like 52%. I opened the doors when I finished walking loon at about 4:45, and all of a sudden the humidity went up. It went up to 71% in the house from 53 in like 10 minutes. I'm like, up. There we go. Now I knew it was going to cool down, so kept the AC on overnight. Obviously, we get up this morning and everything's off. So it's a nice little breeze. But the high today down here, 61 degrees. That is the lowest high temperature down here in a long time. In a long time. I've seen it in the 50s before for highs, but it's you look at the rest of the country and they'll give us the bird, for talking about it. But, because it is brutal around. I mean, like from Montana all the way, they're going to get some massive snowstorms through the Midwest and the Northeast. That big front that's coming through, But down here, people concerned with some wind gusts and wind. You see people in weather like this with snorkels on. It's absolutely a riot.
Yep.
It's sometimes, but I must admit, I get chillier a little quicker now than I used to. The first couple of years I was down here, because I would like laugh at people that dressed really warm just because I get down to the 40s or 50s in the morning and people like spaz out. But I kind of sort of get it now. When you get down here and get your body adapted, to beautiful weather, most of the time. And then this happens. But I embrace, Peanut Gallery and I embrace the cool weather because, you're talking, 80s, about 80% of the time down here and beautiful weather and stuff, but you have to have the AC on a lot and you can't open the doors. So I enjoy these couple of months. We can open the doors and, just go crazy. Go crazy, meaning shut the air off. And of course, it helps with the bill. The bill goes way down, as you know. So
It is nice. It's nice when you can, especially here because you figure in Florida you're running your AC, I would say 92% of the time throughout the year, and then you get that break in between. So yeah, you always want to freaking save it for sure. But yeah, the rest of the country is probably laughing at us like, are you clowns really talking about the weather? But yeah, hey, it is what it is. We're here in Florida. It's just the way it operates.
yeah, and wherever you are around this great country of ours and around the world, hello, Europe, hello, Kazakhstan, hello. Iowa, hello. Hawaii. I think we're even heard in Alaska now. All over the place. This network is just like absolutely exploding. Great shows yesterday across the board, Angel. You must be exhausted, but I checked in for each and every one of them. I can't listen to all of them, but everybody does such a great job. Great perspective. It's great to have a lot of differing points of view. Now, I would love to, which is a tribute to you and the network and everybody else doing a great job. I would love to sit here and talk 3 hours about what the hell is going on with the FS1, with Noshin Faraji, the Skip Bayless thing, with Charlie Dixon, Joy Taylor, Shannon Sharp was mentioned, not mentioned in the lawsuit, but mentioned by others like Jason Whitlock, who does his own podcast. It is, and Shannon actually responded, which we'll have that. What an absolute mess. And you know what I love? The only thing I like about this story, Angel, is that the networks are scared to death to talk about it. Yeah, that's right. We could talk about it. But the networks are scared shitless to talk about this story because it goes all the way back. It goes to not only FS1, it affects what happened. It affects some people at ESPN and probably in CBS and other networks as well. I don't know enough about, except the lawsuit and everything else. All I know is it's juicy. It's juicy. It's got some teeth. And this is where, and I've always said this, Glenn and I, my buddy Glenn, we've always been on the same page. If this were an athlete that did this or said this, male or female, we would be all over it. But because it's, quote, one of ours, everybody likes to back away. Well, I don't. I just don't know. I don't know all the details yet. It's just allegations. So I don't want to, I don't want to say anything about Nushin Faraji or what actually happened with Skip Bayless and everything else. All I know is it's a 42-page lawsuit. I read a lot of it, most of it yesterday when we got out of the show. And there's a lot of juiciness there, but there's also, it's my word versus your word, and we'll see where it goes. But the networks are scared to death to even remotely address the issue, and I think this is going to get some teeth and gain some legs, gain some strength here as we move on. And most people, with all the stuff going on in the NFL, I understand, don't give a shit, and I basically don't either. I don't really care. But it is juiciness, and I care because it's the hypocrisy of the media that won't talk about this because it's, quote, one of their own, as opposed to being an athlete. Happens all the time.
Oh, well, it's everybody should know. All these stories you end up hearing, and I understand everybody wants to move up, everybody wants to do better. I get it, I understand it. But when stuff like this happens and networks don't want to talk about it, they don't mind lying to everybody. They have no problem spreading that across the world. But this here, I'm just not. I guess she's still employed and still on air while this is going on.
Well, no, Nushan Faraji, who are you talking about? She was the hairdresser in this whole thing. She's the one that filed the lawsuit. All the rest of them are still, on the air. They're not going to address. Although I haven't seen Skip. I don't know if he was. I don't know because I don't watch those shows.
Yeah, me either.
But FS1.
Not
the one who filed the lawsuit is a hairdresser.
Yeah. No, I was talking
a makeup
about
artist. Yeah.
Right. I wasn't talking about her. I was talking about everybody else. If all of them were still on air.
Oh, I think Joy Taylor. Yeah, Joy Taylor, I think is, and there's stuff out there. There's absolutely stuff out there about addressing. We'll have a reaction from Shannon Sharp later on, but. I want to start. All I'm saying is it's typical media hypocrisy because it's one of their own, quote unquote, and not an athlete. Otherwise, are you kidding me? You'd have Seth Wickersham and company starting up with 3-page big time stories with a lot of alliteration and blah 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 and sex scandal and all that stuff. But stay tuned. If anything juicy happens, we'll let you know. Anyway. Lots going on. It's already Tuesday. Everybody's getting ready for wild card weekend. But, there's still a story that's getting a lot of pub, obviously, is because of Robert Kraft addressing the media yesterday. The Patriots firing Gerard Mayo right after the game on Sunday. They've asked for permission, obviously, for Mike Vrabel. They've also asked for Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, who attended North Carolina, played quarterback. Coaching career started as an assistant at Boston College in 2009 under Frank Spaziani, who was not a good head coach. He was with the Dolphins under Joe Philbin, who was not a good head coach from 2012 to 2018. Under Joe Philbin, Dan Campbell, Adam Gase with the Lions, 2019 to the present under Matt Patricia and Campbell, and viewed as one of the NFL's elite play callers. So, but I don't want an offensive coordinator that had a whole bunch of talent around him. I want Mike Vrabel, and I want Josh McDaniels, and I want it now. Stop. Just get it done. I know they have, because of the Rooney Rule, they have to go through a series of interviews and fake all that nonsense. Not that they shouldn't have all this, but it just, we all know the truth, that the hiring process for many of these guys, white or black, is done well in advance. They just fake interviews. They fake because of the Rooney Rule. They fake the interviews to make sure everybody gets a fair shot. And I'm a fan of the Rooney Rule. I just know that a lot of these owners don't give a shit about it. It's just all smoke and mirrors. It doesn't really matter. So we shall see. All right, so yesterday, Angel Robert Kraft spoke to the media. In case you missed it, we're going to play a chunk of it for you right here and then get some other reaction from some national people and some locals as well that covered the team. I watched the whole thing. It was started promptly at 1:01 yesterday, only a minute late, which is rare for these kind of things. So anyway, let's, if we can, Angel. Here's, in case you missed it. Oh, by the way, like I said, Jay Plainley coming up today at 8:30, Michelangelo at 9:05. We've got a lot of NFL to discuss here. After we talk about the Patriots, we're going to get into what the Bears requesting to interview Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy, and we have some reaction from that as well. But from yesterday, here is some of the press conference from Robert Kraft, owner and CEO of the Patriots, addressing the media.
I'm going to be very brief here. and say, this whole situation is on me. I feel terrible for Gerard because I put him in an untenable situation. I know that he has all the tools as a head coach to be successful in this league. He just needed more time before taking the job. In the end, I'm a fan of this team first, and now I have to go out and find a coach who can get us back to the playoffs and hopefully championships. We're open for questions.
Start with Dan Rhodes here in the front.
Robert, just when was the decision made? In your mind, when was it that you felt you needed to let him go?
This whole situation evolved, but I'd say over the last month, I went back and forth. And I don't know, in my life and my business, I make certain decisions. I know when it's right, and it just happened. And it was very hard because the personal relationship I feel for Gerard and the human being he is. And I felt guilty I put him in that position. But we're moving on.
Tom Curran on the left.
Hey, Robert. What will happen with, for instance, the personnel department? What decisions will be made with whoever the next coach is, having the latitude to bring in his own players, his own scouting staff, his own coaches?
Yeah, we'll wait till we bring that coach in. And he obviously, he's going to have big input on who the players are and who the coaches are. It'll be his decision. So
At this juncture, would it be status quo for everybody on the staff until an individual is found?
yes. We'll look, we move fast, and we're going to let him make those decisions.
Alan Siegel.
Robert, I know that you don't make snap decisions, so I was wondering, at what point during the season did you sense something was not right? And if you could expand on that, what caught your attention that something wasn't right?
Well, in the important decisions in my life, I've always said I measure 9 times and cut once. And this was one of those situations. I guess the main thing for me is I felt we regressed. The high point of everything for me was winning in the Cincinnati game. And then in mid-season, I just think we started to regress.
Phil Perry.
Robert, how significantly has fan reaction to the product on the field and to Gerard specifically played into your decision?
Well, I'm the biggest fan, so I understand. And, you know, since the day we bought this team and I realized what a privilege it was and how lucky we were as a family, that this is the only business we're involved in where I see ourselves, we don't own this team. It's owned by the fans of this region, and we're custodians of a very special asset of the community. And that's why that helps me try to make decisions that if it was just personal, it would be different.
Andrew Kelly.
Robert, aside from yourself and Jonathan, who will be involved in the head coaching interviews, and what traits are you looking for?
Well, we'll have Alonzo Highsmith and Elliott will be involved, and we're going to try to understand who can help us best get back to the playoffs.
Robert, does that mean Elliott and his staff are going to continue on, or will the coaching hire also impact your front office?
We are looking for people working together, and they will be staying on.
Robert, when you say that the situation was untenable, what about it specifically did you find untenable, and how will that influence how you approach this search?
I don't like losing. I don't like losing the way we lost. And
Just a false start.
just things were not developing the way we would have liked. And
All right, Angel,
It was
we
time
can cut
to
it
move
there.
on.
You get the gist of the press conference. And look, I gave Robert Kraft a lot of credit for coming out and doing that. But by league law, you have to come out and address the media within 48 hours of the end of the regular season. The team that's getting away with it right now is the Jets. Either the owner, CEO, or GM have to come out and address the media by league law. The Jets are getting away with it right now, Woody Johnson, because they have an interim GM and an interim head coach. So only Ulrich was available yesterday, which that is absolutely useless. But maybe the Jets fans will hear from Woody Johnson and what's going on over there, sooner rather than later. If we could, Angel, before we get more reaction here, right underneath the show is yesterday the Pat McAfee show, because we're talking about Mike Vrabel, and we're talking about hiring processes and how it goes down. So here are the rules. Adam Schefter goes over them with Pat McAfee and company on the show yesterday, as far as hirings and all that stuff during this time.
When does the first hiring happen? I know there's different rules on when you can interview people, when you can't. All this stuff is depending on if your team is still playing. But when do you think the first hiring takes place? And the Chicago Bears specifically, I know it's a two-parter. What do you think they do? I hear a lot of people talking about how coveted of a job that is, how a lot of people want that gig. I guess with Chicago, we can answer that one first. What do you think happens there?
Well, first of all, in relation to timing, the league has put guardrails and rules into place to slow this down dramatically. And it used to be for years, that this day came the day after the season, and there was a sprint to go interview candidates and hire them right away. And now the rules are set up and designed so that any coach on a team, any executive on a team for a GM job, they cannot interview face-to-face until after the divisional playoff round on January 20th. And so it used to be for years, most jobs were filled by the time January 20th rolled around.
Answer it.
Got to get it.
No, not right now.
You got to get that.
We got to get it, Shefty.
Yeah, you got to. We'll mute you. We're going to keep you on the stream.
Next call comes in. I missed that, and I apologize because maybe the person who called is watching. But what I was about to say is, by the time we got to the divisional playoff round, most, if not all, of the jobs usually were filled. And now, I'd be surprised if we had a single hiring by the divisional playoff round. I mean, you might get one, but the league has really slowed this down so that teams take their time and everybody gets the proper consideration and nobody races to get it done. And now it lingers until late January, early February. Now we're getting hirings like Super Bowl week. By the way, it's just more attention for the league, because the league needs that.
Yeah, interesting stuff. I'm surprised you didn't take it. And this, there's a few years ago when I was at the other place with Craig and 1 year before he started using Field Yates, who's just absolutely fantastic, and we're hoping to get him back on for all of next season. We used him not this past season, but before the Coastal Sports Network was founded. But the one thing about Adam, when you have him on, we paid him a lot of money. Paid him about $4 or $5 grand for the year to come on with us every week, and it's like the phone was always ringing, and this was in the middle of the afternoon, so the phone was always ringing. He actually used to apologize more times than not his fault. But for any of you out there who want to hire Adam Schefter and stuff like that, just be prepared for very short interviews and very it's just not worth it. He's great. It's great just playing his snippets because there's nobody connected more to the NFL than him. Nobody that I trust more connected to the NFL on a national basis than him. But just a little inside stuff. Yeah, it was a bit of pain in the ass for Craig and I back in the day. We never knew how long. It could be a 3-minute interview. It was supposed to be 20 minutes, but a lot of times it ended up being 5. And emergency phone calls and everybody. Anyway, we digress. But interesting stuff there, Angel. Nevertheless, about the interview process. You really can't hire anybody until January 20th. However, that does not mean that there won't be wink, wink, handshake deals in place, which I'm sure we are going to hear about before January 20th. Like I said, there's phony baloney Rooney Rule interviews that go on that are fake, just so people can interview minority candidates, and they should. But and I'm not saying that the Rooney Rule is bad or anything like that. I'm saying it's fraudulent because it's not monitored really, and you can't prove one way or the other. Like to take Eric Bieniemy, for example, can't get a sniff of any job right now. 3 years ago was the hottest topic on the planet. He was the hottest commodity on the planet as far as being the OC with Kansas City Chiefs and blah, blah, blah. And apparently did not, for whatever reason, interview well in several areas with several teams and ended up having to be the OC. Took a lateral move, an OC at UCLA, which is a downgrade, and didn't do well there. And now you do not hear his name at all. It's unbelievable. Angel, if I could impose upon you, because I want you to see the video of this, on ESPN, the first story today is Bears asked to talk to Cowboys McCarthy. If we could play that video, I know there's going to be a commercial before that, but if we could play that video, that would be awesome. So the thing with, you see what I'm talking about?
Yep.
All right, so while you're setting that up, the thing is that Mike McCarthy now, the Chicago Bears are going to ask the Dallas Cowboys reportedly to go and interview Mike McCarthy. Well, here's the thing. McCarthy's contract expires tomorrow, but Dallas has the exclusive negotiating rights through January 14th, which is a week from today. And after that, McCarthy could very easily become a free agent. And we'll have Jerry Jones comment as well about the situation in a second here. But here's what went down yesterday on ESPN when this story broke. And this was around a little after 4 o'clock.
You would be shocked at how much respect Mike McCarthy has in this league.
Yeah.
And how many people think he's a really good head coach.
Totally.
And how he sets the temperature of a locker room. Now, I didn't know that much about Mike McCarthy. Like, I really didn't. I knew he was in Green Bay. They had a lot of success when I was in Dallas and all of that. The really good team. Obviously, Aaron was there. But I didn't know much about, like, how the league. And they both can tell you, and Mina knows this because she talks to a lot of people as well. It's really about how your peers talk about you. It's really about how guys in the coaching profession, general managers, players that play for you, that's the biggest kind of kudos to what you've been able to do. And I know this living in Dallas. Them dudes like Mike McCarthy a lot. There's a high level of respect for him in that locker room. I'll be interested to see what happens.
I go back to what we were talking about with respect to whether the Cowboys should keep him.
Yeah.
I do think he is a good coach. I do think he is well liked. I just don't know how you can watch the Cowboys offense this year and feel good about that offense for your young quarterback, especially because the most important thing for the Chicago Bears, the only thing, you have to make Caleb's life easier. You have to take some off of his plate. You're going to have to rebuild a lot of things that happened this season. And whenever I watch the Cowboys, I did not think this makes the quarterback's life easier, Dan. In fact, I felt the opposite most of the time watching them.
Oh, I was the person who said I thought they put their quarterback in the hardest position as anybody in the NFL. I mean, it was only about, hey, you got to go execute at a high level. They're professionals. There's what they're paid for. Mike McCarthy's scheme, as presently constructed, is so far behind 2024 football.
Okay, but in all fairness,
A message from the Sonic Department of Research and Deliciousness.
You know our Sonic Smasher, our best.
Well, it's good right now, doesn't it? Yeah. But in all fairness to Mike McCarthy as well, and a lot of what those guys just said is true, but you also got to factor in, you talk about the scheme. It's very tough to have a scheme when your running back for a lot of the year was Ezekiel Elliott and not Derrick Henry, where they didn't even give him a whiff. Yep. You know, you put Derrick Henry on that team, and I bet the Dallas Cowboys probably in the playoffs. So, I mean, you can say all that about Mike McCarthy, and a lot of it is true. But my God, I mean, you talk about having to be a one-dimensional team for most of the year. I think that's fair, Angel. I mean, I think if they had a decent running game to start with, and if they should have gone after Derrick Henry, it was one of the biggest mistakes that was made by any team heading into this season. I think they would have been a playoff team.
They may have, but again, they decided not to. I don't know why Jerry Jones decided to do it. I mean, other than, and speaking of running backs, apparently the Chargers decided they want to pick up Ezekiel Elliott. Good luck with that one in your playoff run.
Well, I think it's a good pickup in the playoffs. Yeah, I think it's a good pickup. You can't have enough depth. I think if any team to get a guy like that, he's got some experience. I don't think it's a bad move at all. It doesn't cost you. It doesn't cost you much. It's risk reward type of thing, and you get a veteran running back. That is the kind of move that can maybe get you a playoff win, or maybe even two. Who knows? But I don't mind that move. I wouldn't mind it that the Eagle or anybody had picked him up. I don't think it's a bad move at all, because the risk reward. Who cares? Unless he comes in and fumbles in a playoff game. But as far as learning a new system and all, he's probably going to be a third down back maybe at times. But I always find, Angel, that pickups like that come playoff time, they always seem to make a play. I think we're going to be talking. Well, you watch. You come Monday morning, I bet you we're talking about him from a play that he made in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, we shall see. But now I'm really surprised too that Dallas has decided not to pick him up. I mean, great for Baltimore, obviously, but they also have to get over the playoff hump too, because they haven't been able to do so with Lamar Jackson. But it was, Jerry Jones has a lot of work to do in Dallas. And I think other than people picking, obviously, the Eagles to win a division, a lot of it came down to Dallas as well. I mean, there was a lot of talk before the draft that they were thinking about Dallas winning a division. But it didn't.
Not for me. I picked you guys right out of the gate. And I said Dallas would take a step back this year. And they probably wouldn't make the playoffs, especially after not taking care of their running game.
Yep.
You can't do it. And, Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn, those kind of guys. I mean, and then you had Ezekiel Elliott, who's now obviously not on the team anymore, but they screwed that up, and it made Mike McCarthy's job much more difficult. Now, I'm not saying he's the be-all, end-all of coaches, but I think if he went to the Bears, it would be pretty. I think it would be really interesting. I think Caleb Williams would absolutely benefit from his experience and how he has developed quarterbacks with the Cowboys. So very interesting stuff. And then it comes down to who is going to end up with Dallas, if that should happen. But I wanted to get to, before we go to break, I wanted to get to more from Jerry Jones on Mike McCarthy and what he's meant to him as a Cowboy head coach.
Jerry, what was your message to Mike McCarthy, and what does he mean to you?
Well, I spoke to the whole team, and Mike was in the room with all the coaches and the whole team. And, of course, Mike's one of the best coaches that I think there is. He was made the coach here because I thought that, and he's done absolutely nothing to diminish my opinion of him as a coach. And I am really impressed with the way the players identified, are with it. They're inside with it, and that's important. That's important because he's had some times when each one of those players individually, as well as a team, have not been fun times. And so he's been there in his way for them on an individual basis. He's been there in his way for them on a team basis. And at the end of the day, you know that these are people. All I've got to do is see Bill Bates out here today, and years flash through my mind about days with Bill, a glass of tea or anything like that. There's lots of things that go into being together on trying to win a
glass of tea,
win games, and win a championship.
All right. Well, we'll see. All right. We're going to take a quick break. Here's another thing media people do, and I'm sorry to go off on a tangent here about media people. Jenna Lane, who does a great job covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We used to have her on our show when I was back at the other place with Craig once a week when nobody knew who she was. And then she's one of the few people over there now that when I've reached out to her in the past, she's like, oh, you have to go through ESPN PR, which is just absolute fucking bullshit because you're either friends and you know. I thought we had a good enough relationship and we made a star out of her before anybody knew who she was, before Tom Brady got to the Buccaneers. So this is what happens with people like her sometimes. This guy, JT, tweets out, Jenna making up shit, or to a couple of emojis, hilarious. Now, this guy is a nobody living in his mom's basement, more than likely with 135 followers, okay? So she feels the need to respond, hey, buddy, I've been sick off and on since December 15th, which I know she has. Yet the Bucs injury report has had 0 players with upper respiratory illnesses. Mike Edwards had a stomach bug. I'm masking up to continue protecting your, capital O-Y-O-U-R, favorite players, coaches, their families, and myself. You're welcome. There is no need to respond to a nitwit like that, Jenna. Come on. Why? You can't not take everything so personal and attacking. It's the same woman, by the way, who I text her. I texted her a few years ago. Hey, young lady, would love to have you on the show today. You know what she texts back to me? This is how some people can be so. She's like, I wish you wouldn't call me that. And I went, and I've asked other female reporters. Some have been on this show, some others, and they're like, that's just Jenna overreacting. So I thought it was, I said, I meant no disrespect. I thought it was a sign of respect to say, hey, young lady, love to have you come on. So, but that just goes to show you the sensitivity of some people in this business, you know. And now I got no use for it because it just, I don't give a shit, you know, because I'm sensitive to people's, you know, but only to a certain point. But only to a certain point, especially with people that I've had on previous shows when nobody knew who they were. And a lot of people who cover the Buccaneers were made famous because Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski were there. A lot of people were. And now, you know, Tampa's having a really good season, and I think they have an excellent shot to do some major damage in the playoffs. But when I have people say, no, I don't want you on the show anymore, I can't come on the show anymore unless you go through this channel, that channel. I mean, get the fuck out of here with that stuff. It's like either you're my friend and you're going to come on, or, you know, if you're going to be all of a sudden when nobody who gave a crap who you were, and now you've risen a little bit. And if you notice, she's one that's not on ESPN a lot. They don't go to her a lot, but she's very good at what she does. She's an excellent reporter. She does a very good job. She's very professional. I just, the attitude adjustment for me, I'm like, you're not that big a deal, you know, to blow off my show. You're not that big a deal. Or anybody's show, to be that, for that matter, unless it's a time constraint thing. Or, I mean, obviously ESPN people don't want to go on Fox radio stations and vice versa. But that's the kind of stuff in this business that aggravates me to no end. It's people that I've dealt with over the years. And there has only been, she's the only one, really, that I have ever reached out to since we started last year when we were on the other network. And after I got out of terrestrial radio, she's the only one that has given attitude about it. Everybody else has been absolutely wonderful. Absolutely one, men and women, doesn't really matter. But just a little radio inside stuff, or I should say, a little media inside stuff. But sometimes, because I've gotten private texts, why isn't Jenna on anymore? I'm like, she wants me to go through a channel. I refuse to go through ESPN PR when she could easily just come on for 10 minutes, whatever. I don't go through NHL Network when Deandra Lou comes on. I don't go through Mia O'Brien's bosses. And she's on probably 8 or 9 different stations a week, you know, on Sundays, you know, besides that. And that's just a couple of examples. My buddies, you know, Bill Burt and Christopher Price and Mita Perel, and back with Phil Yates. Phil Yates said, I didn't have to go through ESPN channels to get Phil Yates. You know, ESPN, yeah, we're going to pay you this amount of money because it's sponsored, and you come on with us. Great. You know, 15 minutes, and that's great. But there's a lot of these people who nobody gave a shit who they were 5-10 years ago, think they're bigger than the sport that they cover, and I got no use for it because I can find 10 people that can do just as good a job. You know, they don't have to be on ESPN and follow the team to do it. So anyway, that's just my little rant for the day. All right, when we come back, more reaction. David Andrews, a Patriots center, about what's going on with the team and what he expects next year. Some Miami Dolphin news going on. Cameron Wolfe, who used to be all the time on our show as well. He moved on. We'll get him on again. He's a real good guy. He has some really good. The Tyreek Hill situation is very interesting. What is going on in Miami? So he's got thoughts about that. And we'll play me O'Brien's snippet of her not going after. It was a very professional question. Going at Shad Khan. That's all part of the Pete Sheppard Show today on a Tuesday, January 7th, here on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
Hey, everybody. It's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home. Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill? Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Don't spaz out because your team lost. Let Pete do it for you. Now, back to the Pete Sheppard Show.
I mean, that's a grown man. I'll be old. I mean, that's my brother. I'm supporting him every day he go, but I mean, I don't got no decision on that.
Yeah. Devon A. Chain on Tyreek Hill wanting out of Miami. Get some more reaction about that. I'm sure his teammates are not happy at all. Maybe they're not happy because Mike McDaniel is coming back as a head coach next year. I'm happy about that because he can continue to make fun of his mediocre to losing ways and his demeanor on the sideline, which I think is childish for most of the time. And I just don't like the way he's composed, Angel. I can't. I don't know what it is. I usually don't feel this way about coaches. Like, it has nothing to do with him being in Miami. He could be coaching the Mars Martians, and I would feel the same way. The way he composes himself. I just don't see how the Miami Dolphins ever get anywhere far with that guy going up and down the sidelines with that wishy-washy Charlie Brown bullshit and trying to come off like this offensive genius. Yeah, we'll see what kind of offensive genius you are. No Tyreek Hill this year coming up, more than likely. I don't know what Waddle's situation is. Who the hell knows? But that organization is going nowhere. I mean, you can make fun of my organization all you want, rightly so. I already have. I've done it every single week. But this is supposed to be the Miami Dolphins playoff contention, all that nonsense. You will never, ever, ever get anywhere with that guy as a head coach. Never. But good luck with that. Sticking with that, though, if we can, Angel, to scroll down. And welcome back to the Pete Sheppard Show, by the way, here on the Coastal Sports Network. If we could scroll down, and is this under Cameron Wolf, if we could get his reaction on Tyreek Hill. He was in the Dolphins building yesterday, and here's what Cameron had to say about the whole situation. He's an excellent reporter.
Patrick, the first text I got from a Dolphins player was SMH, shaking my head, Tyreek being Tyreek. And the Dolphins have got accustomed to this version of Tyreek. But look, this one's more serious than the rest of it. And I'll start with his comments after the game. You know, he was emotional and frustrated, but the words he say have weight. He's a team captain, a leader of the team. And to say I'm out, to say, I may need to go elsewhere, that's something that holds a lot of weight in the organization, within the locker room. It's caused some drama, even today throughout. But here's what I will say, Tyreek has a history of saying different things and walking them back and even trolling, as you see with the Antonio Brown picture there. I'm told he was in the building today for exit meetings, met with Mike McDaniel, didn't talk to the media, but he went through the end of the season process. Mike McDaniel said last night that he was surprised by Tyreek's comments. It was the first that he heard it, but he wouldn't take, frustrated post-game comments as sort of the end-all be-all. So they would have talks, and maybe some of those came today. But I did check in with Tyreek's representation. They said there is no statement they're putting out yet, no formal trade request. Remember, when he asked to be traded in Kansas City, it was a money issue. He actually got paid in August, got a lot more guarantees in his deal. And so when you look at this matter, maybe the more serious element is Tyreek Hill in the fourth quarter pulled himself out of the game. As you mentioned, he said it in that chat. He saw the Broncos Chiefs score, knew that they were eliminated, and essentially, got out of the game. Talked to some people in the Dolphins organization who have not been happy about that. Again, a team captain definitely needs to be discipline and accountability there from people I talked to. And so it'll be interesting to see how both of these matters are handled by the Dolphins going forward.
Yeah, the ultimate diva, and that's why there's such bullshit with Mike McDaniel talking about, how he doesn't go up and get in the face and go at it with Tyreek Hill in that game, and then comes up with that bullshit answer in the post-game press conference on Monday or Sunday about he didn't know if he was in. He didn't even know the situation. He had no fucking clue, which is pathetic. And that is absolutely pathetic. I can't imagine a well-established coach not at least maybe flip tables and getting the guy, and start having a umpire, the player, shouting match and all that stuff. But how do you not go up to Tyreek Hill if you're Mike McDaniel and ask him, wait, what the hell is going on here? How can you not be upset about that? He is so Charlie Brown wishy-washy. That team will walk all over him. Yep. That's why. I don't know how anybody can. I don't know if you're a Miami Dolphin fan, why you would want Mike McDaniel back as a head coach. Just from that situation alone, the fact that you had no idea what is going on your own sideline when you're in, the hunt for a playoff, despite what happened late with Kansas City and Denver, and your captain, one of your leaders, even though he's the biggest diva on the planet or one of, takes himself out of the game, and you don't even know if he's hurt or not. How stupid can you be? Ignorant, arrogant, or scared, which is what I take from scared. You're scared of your players, Mike McDaniel. It's obvious. There's no head coach. I don't know if any other head coach, I should say, I can't imagine even a Rex Ryan or Bill Parcells or Bill Belichick or Todd Bowles or Mike McCarthy, somebody not knowing the status of your captain and star wide receiver. How do you not know that? My God. That's just pathetic. By the way, here's Stephen A. Talking about it yesterday about the Tyreek Hill situation.
May I go first, fellas?
Sure.
Man. Go ahead. Oh, hell to the no. Stay your ass right there. You want to chirp, right? Oh, no. We not. I wanted to go first. I wanted the non-football guy to go first because I wanted to defer to y'all, but I wanted to lay it out for you, Shay, and for you, Swagoo. Ain't this the same Tyreek Hill? Now, listen. We know he all world. My favorite receiver. The cheetah's the cheetah. However, wasn't that the same dude that said Tua was comparable to Patrick Mahomes? Am I missing something? Ain't that same dude? Ain't that same dude that swore? Swore up and down. Watch what we do. Ain't that dude? That's the same dude. And then long before we could look at Tua and look at the concussions, or even after, did they roll up into Kansas City last year in the playoffs, and we knew they were done the second we heard the meteorologist give us the weather report? Because these brothers can't they can't play in weather that's worse than 40 degrees. Ain't that that's the same team? Correct me, Shay? Swagoo, am I lying? Ain't this the same team? And oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the same Tyreek Hill, who got his bag now, restructured his deal for Miami, got his bag now. I don't want to hear about your family, because your family is when it comes to the money, not the game. That's you. That's not your family. That's you. That's you, Tyreek Hill. This is the same brother. Tua had 17 starts last year. This year he got 11. This year he was targeted 171 times last year. 123 this year. Receptions, 119 last year. 81 this year. Receiving yards, 1799 last year. 959 this year. That's a 38% drop in receptions. That's damn near 800 yards. It is an 800-yard drop in receiving yards. And by the way, his reception yards per game dipped from 112 to 56.4, which is his fewest since his rookie season. Life's a little bit different when you ain't with Patrick Mahomes. We tried to tell you. We don't want to hear about no family now. You got your bag. That ain't family, bro. Family's the bag. Once you get the bag, family's taken care of. This is about you. Recognizing life is a little bit different when Patrick Mahomes ain't throwing you the football. Floor is yours.
I normally, Stephen A. rants, I don't like being preached at and yelled at and all that stuff, even though I do a lot of that myself, so I'm kind of a hypocrite. But you know what I'm saying? Not like that, but he's right there. I mean, it's this, but it still doesn't go back. I don't think Mike McDaniel is getting enough criticism nationally, to be honest with you, about the situation I just talked about. I don't know how the hell you don't know your captain and wide receiver takes himself out of the game because he doesn't like the way the Broncos are beating up on the Chiefs on Sunday. It's absolutely insane to me. But we'll see. But he's coming back, and so is Chris Greer. Oh, good luck. Good luck, Miami. Good luck next season with that guy as your head coach. You should wear that Charlie Brown shirt, the yellow with the black stripe going across. That's what he should do. Take off those stupid glasses that he has on, too. I don't like it that I say it's stupid. See, at least I admit it. We told you about yesterday. In fact, Angel broke the news, even though Shefty broke the news. But still, we kind of broke the news here about Doug Peterson being fired. Yesterday, Angel, if we could scroll down, and it's right under the Cameron Wolf thing. It's our girl, even though she doesn't get rid of Dove Kleiman had this. It is Mia O'Brien from 1010XL, and she is on a video conference with the rest of the media with Shad Khan and Trent Baalke, and she asked a great question.
I'd actually like to go back to John's first question, Shad, back to you. I know you noted that if this head coaching candidate was to say, hey, I think the medical needs to be reevaluated, the health and wellness, if they were to say, I would like to reevaluate the front office and the general manager, what would your response be?
My response would be, how would you improve it? And then if it is credible, you want to do it, okay?
I'd actually like to go back to John's first question, Shad.
Yeah. So, very good question. Pretty good answer, by the way, by Shad Khan. But Dove Kleiman says, owner Shad Khan just said he'd potentially get rid of GM Trent Baalke if a prospective head coach gives him a credible reason for why they feel that way. Baalke was right there on the call with him, as you just saw. And he says, quote, this team is a joke. But I can't wait to get how Mia feels about it. I'm sure she's talked about it on her show, Helmets and Heels, and they're the flagship up there for the Jaguars at 1010XL. But we'll have Mia on tomorrow, absolutely confirmed at 9:05 tomorrow. So are the Jacksonville Jaguars a joke because of what Shad Khan just said? I mean, they're at least a half a joke. They're not Jets joke worthy yet, or Giants joke worthy yet, or sort of Patriots joke worthy yet, but they're getting there. They're getting there. And I think that's the reason why they may not get, and Glenn and I talked about this yesterday, despite all the renovations that are happening at the stadium and all that stuff, and you still have, quote unquote, a franchise quarterback there. It might be a hard sell to get a good coach there if indeed Trent Baalke is still going to be the GM. And Shad Khan, like it or not, may have to change his way. It's going to be interesting, Angel.
It is going to be interesting because you got to, you had mentioned yesterday too, as far as like who, and I even forgot about their renovations that's about to happen, because I know the Jaguars are going to play at Camping World, and then once that's done, Camping World's going to major upgrade itself. But that's true. It didn't even dawn upon me that if you are spending this kind of money out there in Jacksonville, who are you going to bring if no one likes that current GM? So are you going to go with just a ho-hum guy for a year, 3 years, and then figure out, like, all right, I got to get rid of my GM? Like, I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions Shad Khan's going to have to really figure out.
No, it's a good point. And Glenn Ordway yesterday brought up another good point. He did some poking around with the situation with Bill. And there's also the part, forget that Baalke is still there, is that Shad Khan's son is handling the analytics, which is not going over well with a lot of staff, I believe. And that may be another point of contention as far as trying to get a new head coach with any kind of a decent resume to come in there if you're going to have the owner's son telling you about analytics. The analytics stuff is fine to incorporate into games, but you still have to. The analytics does not take into account the flow of the game. It's strictly numbers. It's binary. It's like it was 0, 1, 1, 0 type of thing. It does not take into consideration heart, soul, and flow of game. And experience doesn't factor in any of that. All it is numbers.
Right.
And if it's this, you do this. If it's that, you do that.
Yeah, that's why it drives me nuts when they try to put it in as far as when some of the game plays, like Amazon. I understand, like everybody knows AWS, we get it. You know, they put all kinds of the percent. Why do I need to know? The same way in baseball. The hell do I care about the velocity heading out to the freaking?
I don't. That's the one step. I don't mind them putting up the numbers on Amazon or any other network as far as what analytics says, because I love seeing coaches sometimes go against the grain, and a lot of them will. But the stuff about just projection of baseballs. I mean, is there any more of a useless stat than that? You're hitting in Yankee Stadium into a Little League field in right field, a part of it. You know.
Right.
I mean, that has nothing in trajectory. Who cares? You can hit a pop fly there. It's a home run. It's a home run.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just, it's dumb. Like, what are you pulling out some sort of simulator, or can someone give me a yardstick? I need you to degree it just a little bit, just one slight bubble, and then that'll take away that trajectory. And, you know, I understand, like, someone with football, I get it. Sometimes they want to go back, they want to review it, but it's, the game was designed a certain way, and you played a certain way. Now, when it comes to injuries, that analytics, sure, I understand, because you want to make sure that you try not to get your guys banged up. But some of the other stuff, to me, I can so do without it. But it is, if his son is doing that, I mean, it's just, there's so much that's going to go wrong for Jacksonville before it's righted. And who the hell knows what's going to happen? The same way, like, who's going to be in there to get Trevor Lawrence to an elite status, or is Trevor Lawrence just going to be Trevor?
Well, that's going to be it. And then again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Mike McCarthy. I know the big rumor out there or the big story out there is the Bears want to interview him. They can't until the 4th. They can't. The Dallas Cowboys have exclusive negotiating rights with him until January 14th. His contract is up tomorrow, but they have a week to negotiate with him if indeed they want him to stay. And who's to say the Jacksonville Jaguars may not come a calling either? But like I said, you have Trent Baalke still there, and you have Shad Khan's son, who's in charge of analytics, who's not being well received by many. Here's more of Jaguars owner Shad Khan.
So I'd actually like to go back to John's first question, Shad. Back to you.
Oh, actually, that's the same one. I'm sorry. That's Mia. That's the same thing we played. Here's more on SiriusXM NFL Radio from Legger Duzable about the Jaguars parting ways with Doug Peterson.
Ultimately, I believe that not having Trevor Lawrence take that next step that a lot of people thought he would take was part of the reason why Doug Peterson got fired. Right, that, and also obviously the record. Trevor Lawrence has also struggled to stay healthy, but you can't go from almost winning a divisional game versus the Kansas City Chiefs a few years ago to not making the playoffs in consecutive years. And then when you look at last year, them essentially being in first place in the AFC for a good portion of the season, and then just it falling apart the last 8 games of the year. I think all that culminated to Jacksonville making a change now.
Yeah, and Auto Racing Dice says Trevor Lawrence not an elite quarterback. No, but he's quote unquote a franchise quarterback because of the money he got paid last year, and definitely he's got to stay on the field. He's got to stay on the field. I still think he has incredible potential. I know what he's capable of. He's been between injuries and horrible coaching. It's been terrible. Not that Doug Peterson was horrible to him. But certainly he had to go through the Urban Meyer thing and then adjust to Doug Peterson, and that was okay for a while. And then it just became a disaster. I think the Jaguars made a huge mistake by not canning him like 6-7 weeks ago. It could have easily been done. And then Auto Racing Dice says Khan's son is so focused on making a mediocre wrestling show in AEW. I don't watch any wrestling shows. It's not my cup of tea. I wouldn't know. But yeah, that's the other problem with Khan's son, besides analytics. If he's focused on that and not the team, well, then there's an issue there.
He's trying to be the new Vince McMahon Jr. That's the problem. You can't. It's either one or the other. But yeah, if he's not being well received, it's not good. And ARD is absolutely right when it comes down to it. That's his primary focus is that goofy AEW. But no.
Well, and then that's Shad Khan's fault. That's fine. You want to go have that be your focus. You can stop talking about football. Stop doing analytics. Stop being part of the team. But again. Nepotism again prevails in some of these sports. And if Shad Khan is going to allow his son to be involved in analytics and is pissing a lot of potential head coaching, then there's a reason why. And I mean, swallow your own, and it happens. Yep. Don't let him do it. All right, another quick break here. When we come back, we'll have some reaction. Bill Cowher and Bill Belichick about the Patriots parting ways with Gerard Mayo. That was on the SiriusXM NFL Radio. We'll get to that as well. David Andrews, reaction from him, Patriots center, about the departure of Gerard Mayo. And Antonio Pierce, he's frustrated by the lack of support from Raider Nation. We'll get to all of that as well. And plus, all your texts here on the Pete Sheppard Show. Jake Flannery will join me at the bottom of the hour at 8:30. Michelangelo will talk some hockey with him at 9:05 a.m. Lots going on, mostly NFL today here on the Pete Sheppard Show on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
Hey, everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them, sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt.
Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The Pete Sheppard Show. It's fun for the whole family, if it's dysfunctional.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pete Sheppard Show. I do want to tell you about Phil Castanetti's Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts. It's New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia for over 35 years. Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Check them out at Sports World, 184 Broadway in Saugus. Call 781-233-7222 for more information. That's 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there. Always some great events going on. Welcome back. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out here at the Pete Sheppard Show on the Coastal Sports Network and especially the video platform here on Twitter X. Following me at PShep326 on Facebook, up at Tampa Joe's Facebook page, and also my Facebook page, a whole bunch of other Facebook pages. SR1029thegame.com. Great sports app there, especially if you're in the car, use that. CSN Florida, Rumble, YouTube, Switch, Kick, LinkedIn, Spotify, and call the Texas show 727-858-6650. Angel gave me the numbers across the whole network yesterday. Outstanding, Angel. Outstanding stuff. And growing by leaps and bounds. And I'm so happy what's going on with this network. It's fantastic. And today's a little light day on the network, but you can go back and listen to. Let's just tell everybody how they can go back on SR1029 The Game. You have it all set up, easy peasy for most of them. Easy peasy to go back, right, and just check out all the shows in case you missed something.
Yep. No, it's super easy to check out everything here on the network. All you have to do is go to SR1029thegame.com. As you guys see up there at the top of the screen, it's up there all show long. And then while you're there, you go on the homepage. Everybody's show is loaded up there. So you can see Pete, who starts it off in the morning, myself, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the Drive with Q. There's a button directly next to the picture. So just to the right of the picture, unless you're ambidextrous, and then you can look at it either way. But nonetheless, the button is to the right. You click on that show. So, for example, the Pete Sheppard Show is on right now. You click on Pete Sheppard, you can see the live version of the show. The radio player is also up there. So if you're jumping in your car, you can switch it from the live video player to the radio. Once you arrive at your destination, you go back to the live video. But also the instant replay is available there as well. And then you can follow Pete on the social medias right on Pete's button. And that's for every single show. So if you guys miss a show,
click on my
the
button.
instant replay is ready and available. Minus Pete's show won't be ready and available until after my show because I run, unfortunately, everything. So once our shows are done, I put everything up there on instant replay. So as soon as Pete's done today, it'll be up there. So in case you guys missed it, you can always go back and watch the replay. So there's always something new going on, things being moved around to make things flow a little bit better, but there's always content available for you guys to go back and watch for any of the shows here on the network.
Outstanding. We're up to 51 degrees. We dropped a couple of degrees. We were at 53 earlier. Now we're down to 51 here at Fort Myers. Jeez.
Yeah, we haven't budged since 37. It's still 37 outside.
Little pond hockey going on in Tampa Bay, maybe.
Possibly.
Before a little baseball note here from Colleen Wright, who's an excellent reporter for St. Pete from St. Pete, for the Tampa Bay Times. Did you hear anything about this, Angel? The Tampa Bay Rays leadership has changed its position on repairing Tropicana Field. She says team brass now, quote, supports and expects, unquote, St. Pete to rebuild the Trop in time for opening day 2026.
Yeah. Today, backtrack once again, and I think the majority of it is because the money that the Rays already had to spend, which they agreed upon with the Yankees, they already, they were going to fix Fieldhouse 2, and listen, rightfully so. It was not a bad deal. It wasn't like they dropped a whole bunch of money, but nonetheless, they got the year lease of the Rays being able to use out there at Yankee Stadium, Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. So now they're going back and they're saying, nope, you know what? We're going to support. We want our Tropicana Field back. But the problem is it still leaves the new stadium in limbo. So to me, it's one of those things where the Rays didn't want to have to stay, I guess, in Tampa past 2025, bring it back to St. Pete to kind of say, we're supporting you, St. Pete, but we're still looking for a new home. Unless, once again, before the first ball is thrown at Steinbrenner Field this year, they finally decided to say, all right, you know what, screw it. We're just going to stay in St. Pete. We're going to do the brand new stadium, and we're also going to waste the money by repairing that paper mache roof as well. So listen, all you got to do is get a couple tarps, some bungee cords, and we're good to go. And then when a hurricane comes, you just rip off the bungee cords and the tarp, and then, we'll be fine. That's all that was up there. I hate to bring the news people. It's all it was. That's why the ice used to melt when the Lightning used to play there, because it was freaking paper mache.
Absolutely. If we could, Angel, just refresh. I just retweeted it, and I just want the video up there while I play the audio of Antonio Pierce. And he addressed the media yesterday for the first time since, big time. It's like a 14-minute press conference. I'm not going to play that. Just one highlight that I do want to play from Antonio Pierce before we get to Bill Belichick and Bill Cowher's discussion. Just keep the image up there, Angel, if you might. You don't have to play. I'll be able to play. He talks about the big part of the conversation, a big part of the press conference was on his frustrations and lack of support on the frustrations and support from Raider Nation throughout the year, I should say.
I appreciate the support, win, lose, or draw. You know, when you take this job and when you're in front of this room, in front of the building, in front of the organization, the face of the organization, you take the good with the bad, right? And when we win, everybody's AP. When you lose, get rid of his ass. I get it. That's the nature of the beast. It was no different when I played, right? When you play well, they keep you and they give you more money. And you don't, you go to another team. So that's a good part about being a former player. You get the nature of the business. But Raider Nation's been great. I'll say this. For the 9 road games we had, they showed up, every one of them. And they were loud, they were beating. The black hole, we always kicked to it. No different than last night. Thought they were outstanding. For us on some third downs and down there in the red zone. Had a goal line stop because of the noise, had them call a timeout. So Raider Nation's been great. It's been great to me. I appreciate the support. Good, bad, and ugly. I get it. And I take it, and I don't blink or flinch. It is what it is. We got to win more games, and that's what everybody expects, myself included.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm surprised he hasn't been fired yet, to be honest with you, but I think he will be. And it's just a matter of time. Again, everything doesn't always happen on Black Monday. We had some coordinators fired yesterday as well. And obviously, Doug Peterson. I think still one of the bigger stories is that Brian Daboll and Joe Sheehan are going to be retained by the Giants, considering their pathetic record overall. It's just unbelievable to me. Here's some audio. It's Bill Cowher and Bill Belichick on the parting ways with Gerard Mayo on Sirius XM NFL Radio.
And listen, some situations you understand. I've always believed that giving a coach 3 years and see where you're trending is really the appropriate thing to do, in my opinion. What happened to Gerard after 1 year? I mean, I don't know what took place behind the building, but certainly there was a lack of communication. And certainly Gerard had some things he probably had to learn from. And sometimes a first-year head coach says things he probably regrets he says, did things regrets he probably said. It's called learning experience, and you hopefully you can grow from it and learn from it, but also have the support of the people that are behind you.
You need that shared vision between ownership and the coaching and scouting, and that's when you can be successful. And I know, Bill, you had that at Pittsburgh, and I had that up until about the last 4 years in New England. And when you have that shared vision and everybody kind of pulling in the same direction, you have a chance. You can get a lot done. And even if you don't win at all, you're still really competitive, and we've both been in that situation. But when you're going in different directions, then that makes it really hard to keep up with everybody else. So I think you look at the organizations, and you can kind of see the ones that are and the ones that aren't. Really interesting. Now, Bill doesn't have to worry about that anymore because he'll be coaching the North Carolina Tar Heels
next year, and a lot of the good players are headed to him. Penguin AZ says, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Penguin AZ. Oh, by the way, good morning, Gaston guy, because he also sent a text in. I forgot to say it. Good morning, fellas. Hope you're having a good day. You've been listening. Just got a chance to text in. That was back at the top of the hour. So good morning, Gaston guy and Penguin AZ.
All right, Andrew, if we could scroll down a little bit, it's actually under Tommy Freeze Pops. This is David Andrews, Patriots center, talking about where the organization is. It's right under Shannon Sharp, which we'll get to him breaking his silence about what's going on with the Fox Sports lawsuit. If we can play David Andrews here, the Patriots center, on where he feels the organization has lost its way.
Oh, boy. Everybody's losing their ways.
Last 4 or 5 years, where do you feel the organization has kind of lost its way?
Yeah, I don't know. There was, obviously 21 thought we were moving back on the right track. Was very excited. 22, obviously wasn't good enough, but we're still fighting for the playoffs there toward the end. And look, we got to build a culture and get back to that winning culture. That's a big thing, and hopefully that's what we'll do next year.
Does it feel like some of that's eroded?
Look, the fact of the matter is there's a lot of guys that on this football team that haven't had a lot of success, and I tried to stress that the ultimate goal in this game is that trophy, and that's the reason why I still play the game, is to try to get back to that chance, because there's nothing like it. I've done a lot. Been so blessed, and that day in February, there's nothing like it, and for you personally, and also for the guys, the bond you share with those guys. I'll never forget the hard times with guys like Shaq and Joe and Ted and Nate and all those guys, because we went through it together, and whether it was Dante riding our ass or us riding each other, getting on each other, those hard times, made us, and it's a bond you'll always share, and look, it's the greatest culmination of doing something that you've done your whole life, is that trophy, and that's what it's all about. And that's something I know as an organization we want to strive for, and I want to strive for personally.
All right, Patriots center David Andrews, who's heard a lot this year. Bill brings up a big point, and what Bill Belichick just said previously. Shared a vision up until the last 4 years, and basically in TB12 left, the Crafts wanted to change. Yeah, there's no question there started to be a disconnect right there.
Yep.
And people were blaming, why did Tom leave? It was Kraft's fault. It was Bill's fault. It was just timing. And if you've heard both of them speak about the situation over the last 4 years multiple times, they have all said nothing but complimentary, lovey-dovey stuff towards each other. The respect factor was always there. It was an unfortunate situation. I thought it was the right time to move on. He did, came to Tampa, had a couple of great years, won a Super Bowl as well. And people forget, Dave Andrews in 2021, this is only 3 years ago, where the Patriots were, at one point in the season, were 7-2 and the number 1 seed. They had just gone to Buffalo, and then they were going to Buffalo and whipped them. I don't want to say whipped them, but that was that time. It was 50-mile-an-hour winds at Orchard Park. And the Patriots won, 7-3, 14-3, something ridiculous thing. And they actually were the number 1 seed at that time. It was crazy, because I think Tampa was the number 1 seed at that time. And then, the Patriots ended up making the playoffs, and then Buffalo just, hammered them in the playoffs. Which I thought they would at the time. But it wasn't all that long ago. The Jets, meanwhile, have declined a request to make Woody Johnson available for an end-of-season wrap-up to discuss the season and what's ahead. The NFL media policy requires teams to hold a news conference with its head coach and or chief executive, president, GM. Again, Rich Cimini having this. The Jets are in an unusual spot because they have an interim coach and an interim GM. They made interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich available yesterday. He handled a potential awkward situation with a lot of class. Johnson answered one question post-game from reporters and gave a pre-game interview to the New York Post. The fans deserve to hear what Johnson has to say in an open forum, especially at such a critical juncture of the franchise. Absolutely. At least Bob Kraft came out and said right out of the gate, this is my fault that this happened. At least he said it. Came right out. Woody Johnson has absolutely been invisible. If we scroll down again, Angel, just right under Antonio Pierce, from the NFL Network, there's the Ian Rappaport and others discussing more of what happened with the Gerard Mayo situation. And they hope the next head coach inherits a better situation.
Well, I think, first of all, started out by taking full responsibility for putting Gerard Mayo in a, quote, untenable situation. That is an understatement. And, for the Patriots now, look, their season was bad. The team was bad. The results were bad. Everything was bad. But so much of it was all there before Gerard Mayo took the job. Yes, the roster got a little bit better at quarterback. I don't think anybody doubts Drake May's unbelievable potential, but he is a rookie, and, rookie quarterbacks can go up and down. But you look at the rest of the roster, it is not good. And I think, this situation, without a lot of improvement in the roster, without a lot of infrastructure there, still recovering, still trying to move on from the Bill Belichick era to put Gerard Mayo in there as the successor. Basically, keep everything the same. Just say same talent, new head coach, nothing else changes. It's rough for anyone. Obviously, it wasn't good for Gerard Mayo, but to hear Robert Kraft take responsibility, I think was a good thing. Also, Judy, I would say the fact that Elliott Wolf and Alonzo Highsmith will be taking part in the head coach interviews is noteworthy. Now, if it's Mike Vrabel, I would imagine he would have a heavy hand in who potentially would be his GM if the Patriots even have a GM. But the fact that those two were involved is at least a good sign.
All right. Some interesting stuff there. And, boy, I'll tell you, it's going to be they need to hopefully get the deal done, even if it's in secret with Vrabel. And I want Joshua Daniels, back as the OC. That, to me, is the best case scenario for the Patriots. And then have Vrabel get rid of all these bring his own staff in and get rid of all these nonsense people. The Covingtons of the world, the D.C., Alex Van Pelt's of the world, and the entire offensive line coaching staff needs to go. Every single one of them need to go. That's how bad the coaching was last year. And people keep bringing up the fact that, Belichick went 5-11 in 2000 with the Patriots, and then, they got Tom Brady, and things got – look, it is such a completely different situation. Even that year in 5-11, the Patriots, and they could have won about 3 or 4 more games that year also. They just – Bledsoe had a couple of really shitty games, bad fumbles at times. They lost a few one-score games that year that were – they were in almost every game. They just didn't play up to their potential. Much different team, much better team than what this was. You saw, and Robert Kraft brought it up, you saw regressions. He brought it up, regression. You did not see progress with this team. That's the issue. That's the problem that everybody had with it. And he's just not ready. Robert Kraft admitted it. He's just not ready, but it's his fault, and he took responsibility for it. They pushed this guy on everybody for 3 years. So, what, Angel, you going to say something?
Yeah, well, one is, since Bill Keefe has been tuning in here, we appreciate you, Bill, coming back and watching the show. I want to know, one, if he lives in New England, and then the fans' perspective. Maybe Mick Colagio would know when he comes on later on, but I'd like to know, what's the... In Philly, obviously, we're notorious for always being very boisterous, and we'll call up the local radio stations. I'm pretty sure the same way up there in Boston, but I'm wondering, what's the fan feeling at this point? Do they believe in Robert Kraft, or is it one of those things? Listen, again, he's bound to make mistakes. We all know this. But I would love to know from the fan side of the house, how do they feel, and do they have any kind of confidence in Robert Kraft saying he's going to right the ship?
Yeah, I think they do, because he came out and addressed it yesterday in the way he did it and the way he took action. And now, hopefully, if they get Vrabel and Joshua Daniel back with this organization, or at least Mike Vrabel, I think it's going to go a long way with the fans. I think they've been screaming for Mayo's head, Angel, for the last 10 weeks.
Right.
It's or since week 10, since they beat the Bears and they went to 3-7, and they didn't win again another game, or until then fortunately they won on Sunday, won that one. So Rex Ryan said if he's hired as the Jets' next head coach, he will end the Aaron Rodgers Country Club, which I heard. I can't find that cut, but certainly we have other cuts. Here's Devontae Adams was asked if he's open to returning to this pathetic team.
Would you be open to being with the Jets if Aaron was not with the Jets? Potentially. It just would have to, depend on everything. Yes.
Here's Jeff Ulbricht's stance, the interim head coach, on Sauce Gardner's comments about the Jets.
Sauce was just saying that he wants to be here long term. He wants to be like a part of the change and wants to be a part of getting this franchise back on track. Like, how meaningful is it? You think it's like guys in that locker room to hear something like Sauce saying that, especially when he's on the verge of like a new contract?
Yeah, no, that's huge. Your best players got to be your best people, and they got to be all in. And that's how you create a championship team, and for him to say that is powerful. You got to get more and more people buying into that same mentality of being all in, because without it, you don't have a chance, as we all know.
Well, he won't be there, so it doesn't really matter who's all in or who's not all in. He will not be there. It's going to be really interesting to see who Mike Tannenbaum and company finally get on, not only as a coach but a GM. And I'm, they should hire the GM first. If you're the Jets, you should hire the GM first. But I don't know. I can't say enough about that because the Patriots did the same thing. Gerard Mayo was pushed on this team for the last 3 years, and they had a de facto GM at the time. Real quick comment here before Jay joins us. Kevin O'Connell makes it clear that he wants to remain the Vikings head coach. I told you yesterday that Jay Glazer reported on Sunday that Kevin O'Connell is going to be a hot commodity, and teams are going to want to trade for him, but he says he didn't want to go anywhere.
Or yesterday morning that there would be some teams in the coaching cycle that would potentially be interested in trading for you. I know that's an ownership decision, obviously.
Yeah.
From your perspective, is that anything that intrigues you at all?
Yeah, I'm not really interested in kind of, I guess I should say, addressing the rumors or speculation. What I can tell you is I love this team. I love everything about this organization, and this is where I want to be. This is where I want to keep coaching and leading. So any conversations, in my opinion, at this point, it's, really aren't about the Rams and the task at hand. My personal responsibility to lead immediate improvement off of yesterday, but also capitalizing on the opportunity to be in the tournament, my sole focus at this point.
Yeah, rightly so. And he's still going to be a hot commodity, and I'm sure the rumors are going to heat up. But I'm about 90% sure he is not going anywhere, staying with the Vikings. Because if he did, my neighbors around me on the side and in front and diagonally across would have a conniption. And, I'd have to play psychologist. Jay Flannery is in Ann Arbor, where I'm sure it's really fucking cold this morning, even though it's cold down here for us at 51 degrees. We say good morning to Jay Flannery. Good morning.
Good morning, Pete. And yes, I just checked the temperature. It says really fucking cold. That's the.
What is it? Honestly, like 2?
It's like 20. It's bad.
No, but
that's what it says on the temperature, Pete. It says bad. Yeah, it's been like this for like 4 or 5 days now. We had a very mild fall. We didn't have a lot of bad weather for our football games, and everybody saw the Lions game the other night with the weather.
Yeah,
and with the night game. But no, it's winter. This is why you're in Florida, and I'm still here. So I'm in the New England type weather in Michigan.
But it is going to be bad weather. I mean, besides the cold, right? This is a huge. It's like from Montana to Maine is going to be this massive snowstorm coming, right, over the next few days.
Yeah, and right before that, I think we had the polar vortex. I haven't checked. The
polar vortex.
I'm going to get as far as snow. It's a couple days away. It's a couple days away for me, but I'll look. But yeah, thanks for the uplifting update, Pete. I appreciate it. It's
well, I do. I feel for it. The problem with a cold like that, like I've been through in blizzards, plenty of things. You can't do anything.
No.
Except go to a local bar, and you can't. You're trapped. You can't do anything. You can't walk outside for more than a few seconds. It's just I guess you could play pond hockey. I can't say I didn't do that. We did that. I played hockey anyway. But pond hockey is very different when you're playing 25, 30 degrees and the pond is frozen as opposed to 0. It's very different.
No, it's you're right. You can't do a whole lot in this type of. You get great respect for people in like who's sort of like Saskatoon or Saskatchewan in Canada, like Winnipeg, which it's like,
Medicine Hat.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's pretty funny. Uh, and then the poor folks that have to go work in the North Pole and other things like that. The weather and scientific guys who have to do that. But
Well, I thought you meant Santa Claus and the elves. They're the only ones that are immune to all this stuff. You know, they do a great job every year. I got to tell you, amazing stuff.
hey, I got my stuff on time, so that's I'm glad. Yeah, I didn't have to complain. But yeah,
Who's on your sweatshirt this morning? I can't see.
oh come on, man, come on.
I need my glasses. I got to put my can't. I can see you. I just can't.
The
I
guy
can't
with
see.
the 7 rings. That's that guy. This is the Tom Brady "Let's Go" shirt when he went to the
Oh,
Bucs.
okay. Now I see it.
When he
Okay.
went to the Bucs.
Now I see it. Hey, I got to ask you before we get into some other, somewhat serious with the NFL, college football, and everything else. I was saying about this Nosheen Faraji story with FS1 and everything else. I've always said how if this was an athlete, Jay, we would be all over this. Or I mean, I kind of avoided this type of minutia in the past with athletes because I don't, and even this, I mean, I give a shit, but only to a certain point. But this is where it becomes so juicy. With so much teeth to it, and the networks are shitting their pants because nobody wants to touch it. Shannon Sharp addressed it. Yes, in fact, Angel. Well, can we just even if we just play the can we play the video, Angel, of Shannon Sharp addressing this? I meant to play this earlier, Jay, so I apologize, but
Okay, I know all about it, but continue. Go ahead.
in the New York it's on the New York Post thing. Yeah, right there. So this is Shannon Sharp. He breaks the silence on the bombshell for the Fox Sports lawsuit with the new Sean Faraji suing everybody. Yeah.
Address the elephant in the room. You're trending on Twitter. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Guys, the news of the day, absolutely, it doesn't. What y'all want me to say?
That ain't got nothing to do with us.
Yeah, that ain't got nothing to do with me. So there's nothing to address. I don't know why everybody if you notice, everybody's posted it. They got me. In the 42 pages, it don't mention nothing about Shannon Sharp did anything. But y'all want to get clicks. So y'all mention me.
Right. Yep, ain't got nothing to do with us.
Address the elephant.
I did not click on because of clicks. I really don't give a shit, Shannon, because you're not that big a deal to me. But I do think it is like I was saying earlier, Jay. Media avoids their own, quote unquote, their own when it comes to this stuff. They want this to go away as fast as possible. But I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's going to get a lot worse. But we'll see. It's like way down on the totem pole with everything else going on. But nevertheless. It's a story, and it's something that people at FS1 and Fox and CBS, because it affects them too, and ESPN, they're doing poopy pants right now because God only knows what's going to happen with this. I find it fascinating. A lot of people like to find media people or enjoy it, Schadenfreude type of thing, watching media people squirm. They do.
Well, I mean, what's the old saying? If you live in a glass house, don't throw stones.
Yeah,
and they're the ones judging all the pro athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy's this guy's that. And it's funny. One of the guys who's been talking a lot about this on social media was a beat writer here at Michigan when I first got out here in '93. His initials are JW, and the last name might be Whitlock. Well, he's
gone off on social media big time.
Oh yeah, that's how I know a lot about. He basically he and Marcellus Wiley got thrown under the bus because of two of the people involved in the scandal were, I almost said ramrodding their way through FS1.
Yeah.
And what a mess. I mean, and it's crazy because one of the shows I watch almost every day is Colin Cowherd, and I don't think he's implicated in any way, but they all are implicated because they have to deal with it.
Yeah, they have to deal with Skip Bayless, who's just the biggest jerk in the business. One of them that I think he is somebody.
Did you ever have dealings with him?
I think I called him an asshole once. He said something about this is like in 2000, whatever Super Bowl we were at. He walked by the two people that I really despise in this business, and I used to love, when I was back in small mid-market radio stations before I got to Boston in the late 80s, early 90s. And I would really enjoy listening to Mike and the Mad Dog when I could and everything else. And I always got along with Chris to this day. But Mike came and said something to it was us, WEI, WFAN. I don't know what Super Bowl it was, not to be an idiot. I just lose track. I think it was in Houston. It was either Houston or Jacksonville. And we, of course, get there on a Monday. They don't show up until Thursday. And he came by right around the air, and he's like, you guys look like you're about like a rugby team. So it was me, Glenn, Freddie, and Steve. Freddie Smirla, Steve Diassi.
And of course, he knows Steve because he's
at the break went over to him. I said to Chris, I go, does this guy have to be such a dick? And then we ended up riding on a bus together back to the hotel, and he wouldn't say boo. He wouldn't. He's just a dick, and so is Bayless is the biggest fraud on the planet. I can't. I don't know how these people get the contracts and the money that they get. I really don't. What has Skip Bayless brought to the table? What has he been right about in the last 10 years? What has he been right about? Except for showing his workout schedule. What is Skip Bayless? What is the attraction? I really don't get it. I don't watch that shows. I don't. Colin Coward I used to watch. I've lost a lot of respect for him too, with a lot of these ridiculous over the top hot takes. And Colin has been so wrong. He gets teams and names like he says stuff. He quoted somebody. I can't remember. It was a couple weeks ago. Angel and I were talking about the guy was dead. Guy was dead. So I mean, I don't put a lot of. I have a little more faith in some of the ESPN shows. You know, again when. It's stuff like Jeff Saturday and Jeff Darlington and Mike Greenberg and even Rex Ryan. I have a lot more respect for some of those. Skip Bayless, I have absolutely no use for. None. Absolutely none. But, you know, we digress.
Well, between a lot of, between our work here with the network and my other non-show related stuff, I've cut way back on a lot of this stuff. I watch games. I listen to select podcasts, mostly of the teams I follow, like the Patriots, Lions, so forth. General NFL. I love John Mendelkop, 4th and 1.
Yep. How about McElroy has a really good one. McElroy has a really good one during the week about college football. I think it's excellent. It's been televised on ESPN. He does a great job, but it's not just all SEC shit either.
And Joel Klatt's great.
Yep.
And of course I when Jake Butt was here, he was one of my buddies. He's on the Big Ten Network. So there's a lot of stuff I follow, but I avoid the drama and, Desperate Housewives on TV and radio.
But don't you wish, speaking of the Big Ten Network, don't you wish the Big Ten Network would come up with some better programming and try to emulate what the ESPN platform is? I mean, there's more than enough material to talk about than running, Rutgers Penn State volleyball from 5 years ago during the middle of the day. I think that there's enough content between football and basketball where they could, they have the audience, the huge Big Ten audience. I don't for the life of me understand why they don't invest a little bit more in, not just running games, but doing shows like the ESPN platform does. I think would be a nice alternative. I would tune into it. I'd like to hear different perspectives. There's certainly enough material there, and I've never understood this. It's not just this year, Jay. It's been going. I've been saying this for a decade with the Big Ten Network. They don't do enough. It's a boring network other than when they're showing game. They don't show enough. They should be showing all the college football press conferences, football and basketball, as much content as they can. I don't know. Maybe they claim they don't have the funds. I don't get it. But I think they
show a lot of the football coaches press conference. They do that. They do that the midweek ones.
Yeah.
Because I have that on at work when I go and open my bar, and they have that on. But I think for the most part, it's mostly game replays, game analysis. I don't think they have the coaches shows on, but they have the press conferences.
The game replays are useless. You're better off running continuous loop of press conferences from that day. You're better off just doing that. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to see, like I said, some old softball or women's volleyball game or baseball. Nobody wants to see that stuff. I mean, and during football season, go football 24/7. You can't miss. And some hockey.
No, it's no, it is. It is. I think it's a money related issue. You kind of just talked about it. We'll
Yeah.
see, but yeah, I don't
I
know
want you to
what to
take
tell
over.
you.
I
It's
want
not
you to
really
take over.
my area. I don't sweat that.
All right,
type
let's get into some.
Well, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Pete.
your video is cutting out a little bit.
Oh, okay. I'm back.
No, I see you. I see you. It's just
I froze.
You froze. That's all right. I can still hear you. You're looking happy and handsome. That's okay. All right, let's. What do you want to start?
Hold on. You want me to reload?
Yeah, reload if you want. Yeah, reload if you
Yeah,
want. While you're reloading,
hold on,
I'm
hold
going to
on.
play this. While you're reloading, I'm going to do this real quick. We were talking about Mike McCarthy and the story about the Bears want to ask permission for him to interview him. Here's this morning on Get Up with Jeff Saturday, Jeff Darlington. They're talking about it.
Did he just say it's not healthy? People don't want to be here. You haven't told him you want him there. Right. That's a big problem. You are the one in authority. You have the ability. You've known this for 6 weeks. You ain't in the playoffs, but this ain't a surprise. Oh, man, disappointed this game this week. No, we've known, and you're saying if somebody doesn't want to be here, he has never said that. You have been the one who has kept him from not being able to say it. That's craziness. That's craziness.
There are some unique people, special people in every organization. One of them is your quarterback, the other is your head coach. He treats both of them like they're expendable. If you want this man to be your coach, extend him. You don't want him to be your coach, don't let him go meet with other people. This is absurd. I can understand it's justifiable if you don't want him to be your coach. Cut him loose.
Well, yeah, this is what's going to be really interesting. As I said, his contract expires tomorrow, but the Cowboys have exclusive negotiating rights for another week till the 14th. And then, but that doesn't mean some sort of a wink handshake deal can't happen. But if Jerry Jones, you don't know what to believe when he starts speaking. But if he handles this like he handled his running back situation, by not going after King Henry, then there is going. Then this is going to, unless he already has in the back of his mind that he wants Deion Sanders, whatever backup plan he has. But certainly. I didn't feel like it was a big vote of confidence. I mean, he said a couple of nice things after the game because he wouldn't say about Mike McCarthy. He said, I addressed the whole team. So I don't know what Jerry Jones is thinking, but if they're serious about Mike McCarthy, they better lock him up. I hope he actually goes to the Bears. I think it'd be a great move for that organization if he went there.
I do too. And listen, I don't know, Pete, have you seen Jerry Jones on Landman? I mean, it's pretty good if you haven't seen it. It's all over the
one
clips.
where
All over.
there's somebody sick in
Billy
bed.
Billy Bob Thornton show.
And, I haven't. I saw him address somebody in bed, and it looked like guy was. And
John Hamm. It's John Hamm. He's talking to him. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I just saw a clip. I didn't hear anything.
He's playing himself. Jerry Jones is like playing himself. You'll see it. It's great.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
What's that on?
I think is it the same one that Yellowstone was on Paramount? Maybe.
What's it on? So Paramount is on Paramount Plus.
I believe so.
Okay.
Or it's either that or the one that the Tulsa King is on Stallone show.
Yeah, that's it. Paramount Plus. I'm looking at Joe Pampliano right now. He said, I haven't seen Landman yet, but this is an all-time speech by Jerry Jones, probably because he's not acting. This is his real life. But
so basically he explains that he set up his businesses in his life to have his kids work for him. Yeah. And then he bought the Cowboys and the transition of that. And listen, it was really good. And you got to learn.
I'm looking at it right now. I can't hear. I mean, I can play it, but today I can only keep it till 9:00 or 9:01. But I mean, good. But so you think it'd be a good move about McCarthy going to the Bears?
Because they need they need an adult in the room. That's what they need. They need, and I think as far as the Patriots go, I like Mike Vrabel. That's who they should have hired last year. But I'm going to tell you this right now. If they can get Ben Johnson, they should do that.
I disagree completely. I don't want to hear about offensive coordinators with no head coaching experience. It's great when you have a bunch of players around you that obviously he's done an amazing job with that team. I take nothing away from him or Aaron Glenn. Nothing away from it.
Well, Aaron Glenn's better than he's done, but continue. Go ahead.
No question. But I'm done with the offensive coordinators coming in and trying to take over. I've seen it a couple of times with Josh McDaniels, and not that he can't do the job. And they're going to interview him. There's no question. I know they're going to
The Bears
interview.
are too. The
I
Bears are
don't.
too.
Yeah, the Bears also just announced they're going to interview Mike Vrabel. Of course they are. So is Jacksonville and.
Well, then I'm
Chicago.
talking about Ben Johnson's going to interview with the Bears too. Oh, I did not know about Vrabel and the Bears.
Yeah, well, I expect that. I think Vrabel's going to be interviewed by everybody, and I mean, all these guys are going to be interviewed by Jacksonville, the Bears. I thought maybe the Giants until yesterday they pulled whatever, but no, I for me personally, and I'm
just did the summary of the Giants. Whatever. I mean, really.
But I'm done with these OCs trying to come in. I've seen too many failures. I've seen too many failures. I don't want to. Eric Bieniemy right now cannot get a sniff from anybody, and he was the hottest commodity there ever was for an OC.
Was fired from UCLA
3 years ago. He failed at UCLA. Couldn't do anything there. Terrible.
Was fired.
So I want a experienced head coach, and then you bring in a guy like Josh McDaniel. I'm happy. I'm happy. That's a good start. You get rid of Covington. Obviously, get rid of Van Pelt. Get rid of everybody on that offensive line, and.
No, it's crazy. No, I'm not a McDaniels guy, but I like that they moved off of Mayo, and it was a disaster. And the roster obviously is terrible too. So
yeah,
that's part of it. They got better kicker and quarterback, yet the team was worse. So I don't know how that works, but hey, whatever. Hey, they won Sunday though.
Which was stupid. Well, that was more the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills quit. And rightly, good for them. McDermott was smart. They don't want the Patriots to have the number one pick in the same division. I get that. Yeah. I get that.
So, Pete, I wanted to bring something up. Yeah. Obviously, Kathy, my business partner, and you follow us both on social media. Where her job, she works for Pacific Legal Foundation, but for a lot of her career professionally, she did watchdog things where she looked at things in the government, the news that aren't good. And like you and I were just talking about the FS1 and everything. Yeah. So she's from Gaylord, and I was talking about that. Her son lives up there now, which is a nice resort, nice middle of the state resort area. Well, this government program is going to destroy the forest, 400 acres of it, and put in solar panels. And she's talking about that and getting a lot of exposure. Kathy's all over the internet, social media. If you follow me and Pete, because she tweets and posts stuff all the time, just follow Kathy on this. Is important. They're going to get it overturned. Department of Natural Resources basically destroying all this land to put in solar panels. And there's a problem with using solar panels and wind in Gaylord. 10 months out of the year, the land doesn't have sun. So it's like 9 point.
Now, isn't this is there some device? Is there some device they can harness the rays of the sun like they do in some of these Star Trek or something, where it can be cloudy, but you can still like harness the yellow sun?
You just got Kathy points with the Star Trek solar panel reference. That was good, Pete. Good job. But no, it's like hey, let's do sun and nice weather in the Antarctic. There isn't sun and nice weather. It's nice to get solar powers and energy and everything, but do it in areas where you can. It's like, hey, let's build an Eskimo party in Hawaii.
How do these scientists not, and whatever, weathermen, meteor, how do they not know all this before they open their big fat mouths and say they're going to do something, and then realize it's impossible.
Beginning to sound like Kathy, Pete. I mean, really.
Well, but it's logic, right? It's just simple logic.
Well, it's true. It's true. That's
research.
Why I love
research. You can't just say, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should without doing all the research.
Yeah, this example, the university around me is building new dorms and moving a couple of buildings around, and they bought a piece of land that was like a water sinkhole. Basically, it was a floodplain. Mm-hmm. And they started drilling and building, and they found a bunch of dinosaur bones and skeletons and things like that. And they got delayed for 2 years because they didn't research the land when they bought it. Stuff like that. It's just when you measure twice, cut once. Somebody once said, but it is what it is. Pete, and again, thank you for letting me do this. Kathy and I appreciate it. But we'll post and tweet. There's stuff going on. She's doing it a lot besides her Pacific legal work, but it's important to me and her, and it's her hometown. I mean, it's like if they're doing it to Andover, where I'm from. Oh, well, question.
But you said real quick. You said she's in Gaylord, right?
Well, she's from Gaylord. She lives in Saginaw, but yeah, Gaylord's where the solar panels thing go on. It's all over the place.
How many Gaylord Fokker jokes come up, from Meet the Parents from time to time?
Oh,
A lot. I mean, someone must be sick of them, right? I mean,
I know, but yeah, and her son actually lives there now, and he's posted. But Kathy's tweeting and Facebooking about it. You'll see, it's all over the place. And because of who she was and where she works, she'll get the Pacific Legal and other legal friends of hers involved in the cases. They've pissed up the wrong tree.
excellent, good. Well, I'll retweet some of her stuff.
Let me do that, Pete. Now let's get back to the toy aisle where you and I belong.
Okay, let's in the last few minutes here, let's get to college football a little bit. Notre Dame, Penn State coming up at Hard Rock and the Capital One Orange Bowl, just the Orange Bowl, and then Ohio State on Thursday night, 7:30, and Friday, Ohio State, Texas, from Jerry's World, blah, 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 blah. All right, just without keeping your hatred for Ohio State aside. So tell me who you like in both games and why.
I like Ohio State by about 10. I just don't like the combination of yours and Sark as much as I make fun of Day. They played really well last week. But I think Texas will keep this game close. Yes, Texas has really good players. So they should be able to keep the game fairly competitive. I just think Ohio State's too good. And I think their problem will be in the next game between the winner of the Penn State Notre Dame game. I just don't like Texas. Texas could have easily lost the Arizona State game. If Arizona State executed better in the red zone, a lot like the Vikings in the game the other night, if they converted a couple of these red zone series, and they should have had more points at Arizona State.
I agree. No, and also, you go back to the especially the second half, or the 3 or 4 times in opposing territory and in Texas territory, and 4th down, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3, couldn't convert any of them. That was huge as well. And despite that, he had the targeting penalty that wasn't called.
Yeah, and then obviously early in the game, your decisions on going on 4th downs and stuff is important. And that, by the way, that was a huge part of Sunday night, where Dan Campbell intimidated Kevin O'Connell to go for these 4th downs early, and he was stupid. And I'm friends with both guys, but Kevin got caught up in being Dan Campbell instead of being Kevin O'Connell, and that really hurt them early in the game.
I agree with you. It's a great point, but it's also Sam Darnold was not the Sam Darnold we used to see this year. He was tough. He still missed. He just missed Jefferson again. I mean, how many? He just had give the Lions defense credit, but a lot of that was on Sam Darnold because these guys were wide open.
Aaron Glenn and his players did really. Yeah. And the Amik Robertson, by the way, used to play against Justin Jefferson growing up. They're from the same part of the country. They played in camps and high school against each other. And he's not intimidated by Justin Jefferson. So that was a big part of the game and the win. But you're right. Darnold is off. He resorted back to the seeing ghost stuff when he was on the Jets with the Dante Hightower, Jamie Collins, Belichick defense, Patrick Chung and McCarty and all those guys. But going back to the college football, the second game, I like Notre Dame slightly in the Penn State game for a couple reasons. Again, I like Marcus Freeman better than James Franklin, but to be perfectly honest with you, Pete, I like your shoes better than James Franklin.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And I call him field goal for a reason. I also think Riley Leonard is a little more advanced than Olar. I think Olar is going to be really good. I mean, Penn State could be a top national championship team next year. They're going to be really good with a lot of their guys back. But I just think they're very similar teams, Penn State and Notre Dame. But I just like Freeman and his quarterback better than Olar and Franklin. I think they could be like Michigan last year after they blew the TCU game 2 years ago. Come back, learn, be better, that type of thing. So I think we're going to see Ohio State and Notre Dame. And then, of course, Marcus Freeman's going to beat Ohio State and then take the job when Day gets fired.
Well, I kind of agree with you. The only thing that worries me about Notre Dame is they have to play a hell of a lot better offensively. Now, Georgia's got to
finish drives and get points. I mean, catch the ball, too, and a couple other things. Yeah.
I mean, they were handed 14 points by Georgia. Handed. Here you go. Here's a fumble late in the first half with seconds to go. Here, take that, and then opening kickoff goes back for a because if you just look at the box score and the net yardage, you just said, okay, Georgia won by 10. But they're going to have to come up with a better offensive scheme against Penn State, which has got an excellent defense as well. I think that's going to be – I'm not sure anybody gets to 24 points in that one. I think that's going to be relatively low scoring, old school Big Ten.
That's how they also kind of play.
Yeah.
And if you remember the Penn State-Ohio State game, wasn't that like 17-14?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what this is going to be a rock fight. Yep. I think the Ohio State game will be a little different because I think Day will come out throwing with Smith and his receivers. In Texas, that's kind of their weakness. They're not good at defending the pass. If you remember last year, Washington put points on them big time with Penix and friends.
Yep.
So, but it was interesting to see. But no, I went against my better judgment and picked the Buckeyes. But give them credit; they're playing well. We're not on their schedule anymore, so they're okay.
Jay, thanks for everything. All the best. I know you have your show again back tomorrow night. Great job last night with your stuff, and we'll look forward to it tomorrow at 6 to 8.
Yeah, well, 6 to 7:30. We got to send Angel home to go to bed. But
that's right.
He's past his bedtime. But no, Pete, I appreciate you letting me do that for Kathy. I know she'll love it, and
absolutely,
we're excited. It's a big week with these 2 playoff games Thursday and Friday night, and then obviously the NFL. We got the 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and then the Monday game. And that Buccaneers game is going to be good, and the Eagles Packers too.
Cannot.
There you go, baby. Talk to you soon, Pete. Appreciate you, brother. Right, thank you.
Jay Planley joining us all the way from a very chilly Ann Arbor joining us. All right, quick break. When we come back, talk a little hockey. Haven't done it in a while. Let's get into it with Mick Colaggio, one of the best NHL insiders out there, all part of the Pete Sheppard Show. When we return in hour number 3 here on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
Hey, everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Do you want the best in sports and entertainment?
You got it. Now, back to the Pete Sheppard Show.
Right on time. How about that for timing? Welcome back. Hour number 3 of the Pete Sheppard Show on the Coastal Sports Network, and one of the best in the biz at covering the National Hockey League, not just the Bruins. The one and only Mick Calagio. Mick, good morning. I'm hoping we get a lot of these tonight. I have a feeling we will as the Bruins entertain the Edmonton Oilers. But I know it's late, but Happy New Year and to you and yours. And thanks for taking a few minutes. I thought you might be in the car.
They only play them for the home team. The goal song.
Oh yeah. I know. I just play it because you're coming on, and that's
But you're getting a feeling. You're feeling like the Bruins are going to light the lamp.
Yes, I am. I know they're not going to play it for Edmonton. I didn't. If that's the way it came off. I'm dumb, but I'm not that dumb. Yeah, but I thought you might be in the car, so you're not.
Correct. Yeah, me too. Thought I might be in the car. I'm not. So, yeah, we're not getting the no car background noise tonight. This morning.
You headed to the game later on today?
I am.
Well, we'll get into
the plan.
We'll get into that.
Don't like to pass up chances to watch that kind of talent.
No, exactly. If I remember the last time they played, we'll get into it in a second. They played them tough last time in Edmonton, right? Did they lose like 5-4, 6-5?
Yeah, it's a good game, and they lost.
Yeah.
I mean,
no more
one of those teams where you can play a good game and lose.
Yeah.
And if it happens, then you say, okay, what's more important, that we played the right way or that we lost? I think where the Bruins right now is still barely past the halfway point of the season, and even though that Atlantic Division is getting really bunchy, and objects in your side mirror closer than they appear, Montreal Canadiens. Hard to believe. You got a game against Ottawa after all these ones against Florida, Tampa,
I
home
like
and home
it,
with the
though.
Lightning. Then
Don't
they
you
get
like it? I
the
like it.
Senators after that, and the Senators are right there.
I want that
Sorry,
Bruins
Pete?
Montreal. I want that Bruins Montreal hatred to resurface again. I think it's great for the game if they should ever meet in the postseason. I know the Habs have a couple of games up, 2 or 3 games up on the Bruins in hand, but nevertheless, wouldn't you love? I would love. Try to think. When's the last time Bruins played Montreal in the postseason? While ago, right? 70 years ago.
11 years ago. 11 years
11
ago.
years. It was 11. Geez,
And they
was it-
lost.
Yeah, I know.
The Bruins won the President's Trophy, but Dennis Seidenberg went down in December with a awkward ACL, MCL, and never made it back into the lineup and was never adequately replaced. And the same season, Andrew Ference had left the Bruins and free agency the prior summer to the Oilers. And so the Bruins were suddenly integrating Dougie Hamilton as Chara's defense partner.
Yeah.
And also Adam McQuaid was injured. So
That's right.
Kevin Miller, who was
Yeah.
considered interchangeable with McQuaid, was also at that point an entry level player. The Bruins had entry level defensemen on all pairings, and it's a wonder they beat Detroit.
It was, but
they lost to the Canadiens.
I think it's good for hockey, though, if we get that Bruins Montreal thing going again. It's been a while since it kind of really. I mean, always.
You know how long it's been, Pete? Here's how long it's been. The Islanders were in Sunday night against the Bruins.
Yeah.
On their bench, Patrick Waugh.
I know.
Takes up a coach's challenge on a Bruins goal. Gets denied. The goal stands. Fans cheer. Oh. All right. How that happens? Do you think there's anybody? I'm seated on the corner of the rink so that I'm near balcony fans.
Yeah.
And I'm like just above them, and they're also kind of rising up beside me.
Yeah.
And not one nothing. That's how long ago. People don't even know who he is.
Oh, well, we know.
It's sad.
I still
It's
hate
sad.
Steve. I still hate Steve Penny.
Well, there you go. And he preceded Patrick Waugh.
Yeah.
Pete's point is well taken.
Yeah, some freaking Mike Moffat. Thank God that we don't got Pete Peters from Brad McCrimmon. But anyway, but before we get into more about this team,
Sergio Momesso.
I want to talk about Dwight Foster, and unfortunately passed away a few days ago. Played now mostly. I mean, the second stint I kind of remember him. I remember more from the 77 to 81 teams that he was on. He was always one of my favorite players. You talk about lunch. You talk about if you had a list of Bruins greats who were not so great, but maybe the most influential, like third line type of guy. I don't know how to put it. MVP for.
He was a character player.
Man, he was one of my favorite players to watch, and you couldn't help but the beard and all that stuff. He just looked like he reminded me of an earlier version of Jay Miller with a little more offensive talent. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, he wasn't quite the pugilist that Jay Miller
No,
was.
not like that, but he was a tough son of a gun.
But it wasn't as big. But he was a centerman, and he played a hard game. And I think that it didn't start well with him because of a knee injury.
Yeah.
It really kind of negated his 77-78 season. But then the rise of Peter McNabb as a second line center kind of allowed Harry Sinden to bolster his defense by trading Greg Sheppard, something I never would have thought would have happened. And so suddenly you had Jean Rattel, Peter McNabb, Bobby Miller from Bill Rickamas, and Dwight Foster. Well, hard to believe that at age 84, Jean Rattel is the last surviving member of that team that went 7 with Montreal in 79. I mean, the last surviving centerman.
Didn't Dwight score a kind of a meaningful goal in that series with Montreal that year? If I remember, what didn't he?
I don't remember.
I thought he had. I thought he had a couple significant goals for the Bruins in those years in the postseason, because those are really good Bruins teams. They could have easily won 3 cups. Instead, they didn't won none, but could have won 3 easily, especially 77.
Well, when you're up against the greatest dynasty of the era, I mean, I know the Islanders come close to it when you look at them winning 4 after Montreal wins 4, and the Islanders fans will always say, "Hey, the playoffs were full. You had to win 4 rounds, and they won, that many rounds in a row, plus 3 more the next year. Nobody will ever touch that." They're right, but nobody dominated the regular season and the playoffs for 4 consecutive years like the Montreal Canadiens of the late 70s. That was an unbelievable hockey team. And, so bottom line is, the Bruins are all that in a bag of chips. They just were at the wrong time. But terrific hockey team. Dwight Foster was a part of it, especially at the end of that run. And then, like Ted Donato did the year before the NHL lockout year, rejoined the Bruins later in 85, 86, and was part of the team for 86, 87. More mature, more of in a checking role more. It's just, a good player, and, it's a first-round draft pick for the Bruins, that everything didn't go right to start because of the injury and all. But he wound up being a good guy, and they brought him back.
Rick Alagio joining us from BostonHockeyNow.com and also RinkWrapMC.com, one of the best insiders in the business. Last little memory lane quick. And it's so subjective. There's no right or wrong answer here. So obviously, if I had my top 5 all-time NHL players, I would obviously have Orr. I would, and Bobby and obviously Wayne Gretzky. They'd have to be on the team. Probably Gordie Howe. I swear to God, I can debate this with anybody. For me, one of the best true pure skaters in the history of the sport, for me, as the only Montreal Canadian I ever liked, besides Steve Rooney, only because he was from Canton, was Guy Lafleur. I mean, I could watch that guy skate with that flowing hair, and I say that with extreme, bunch of heterosexuality in my life. That there was just something about him, watching him glide. I mean, stride. He was born to play hockey. If anybody was ever born to play hockey and skate, it was that guy. He used to blow my mind at how smooth that he was.
I was at a game, 76, 77 season, and the NHL was doing this weird thing at the time. They were, I don't know if they were trying to be like the NFL, but they had Monday Night Hockey.
Yeah, oh yeah, it used to be on 38. They used to show it on 38.
Correct. So it wasn't on NBC anymore.
It was always Montreal and Philadelphia, it seemed.
That's right. The single-digit networks we're no longer carrying the NHL, but there was a syndicated programming that was making it onto the Bruins channel, which was TV 38. Yeah. So you could watch games on Monday night with other teams. Yep. Well, the Bruins played Montreal on a Monday night and at Boston Garden, and Guy Lafleur and the Canadiens were just putting on a show. This was the year that they won 60 games, only lost 8. The only team of the expansion era to lose fewer than 10 games in a season, and they lost 8. 3 to the Bruins. But that night, they were killing the Bruins. And there was a puck that the Bruins finally got out of the zone, almost like a mock cheer, because they finally got the puck out of the zone, and they literally punted it. It went way up in the air. And Guy Lafleur is like looking, he's going back like the center fielder. He reaches behind him blindly for the puck, and it lands right on his stick. And the whole place goes, ooh, like, okay, enough is enough. You've shown us up. You've made us look bad. Don't rub it in. Is that kind of a moment. And, I mean, coming on the heels of Bobby Orr, and they overlap some, but Lafleur's prime really didn't start until the last year of Orr's career playing whole seasons, 74, 75. Guy Lafleur got rid of the helmet and started scoring 50 goals. But he could also drive a line, and tremendous talent. Really, obviously crushed the Bruins in 79. Deserved everything he got. And another player we miss, to have around in retirement to talk to. It's sad. I got to meet him once before a Bruins game at TD Garden. He showed up kind of by himself, up near him, right, walking past where I was sitting before a lot of people were filling in. I said, "Here's my big chance."
Yeah.
They would always put Guy Lafleur's hockey sticks, his Sherwood PMP Lafleur's, in local sporting goods stores near where I lived in Massachusetts. And I buy those things, and I loved them. They just felt like a natural extension of my arm. I played hockey with them, played street hockey with them. I love those things. And I asked him, I said, why did you reject these sticks? And I said, they had this really high lie. They were like a putter. And he says, I don't know why they did that. I wanted my hands way down here. I wanted my stick to be boom, and like that, and not like this. And I don't know why they ever did that. I said, I'm really glad they made the mistake and you had to throw away all those sticks because they came to me. And it was a fun moment with Guy.
But even
a great hockey player.
Oh, even for Bruins fans, hard guy to hate. Much like how Red Sox fans, hard to hate a guy like Jeter. You can hate the team and all that stuff, but it was kind of hard to hate Guy Lafleur.
How can I hate a guy whose middle name was Sanderson?
That's right. I forgot about that. That's amazing. Would Derek ever talk about that?
No. I don't think they've ever. I don't even know if those two have ever even met.
Really?
Derek Sanderson and Derek Sanderson Jeter. Derek Jeter's dad was apparently a Bruins fan and named him Derek Sanderson Jeter. And and hey, the year that the Fleet Center, after the Fleet Center naming rights went poof, I think during the NHL lockout year. They had like these auctions to name the arena every day. And this guy who had gone to Yale and was a Yankee fan won the auction and wanted to name it the Jerry Jeter Center. Well, one of his old pals, who was a Harvard guy from Boston and a Red Sox fan, convinced him to compromise, like he'd double down on the auction winning bid, and they would name it the Jimmy Fund Center instead, which was a wonderful thing to do. But I do feel like they missed their window, because what they could have named it that day is the Derek Sanderson Jeter Center. But it didn't happen.
It's a great story. All right, let's get a little bit into this team. And not a great road trip, obviously. Disappointing. The Rangers loss sucked. I watched that entire game. I watched much of the Islander game the other night, too.
I was at that entire game.
The Ranger game sucked. I hated that. Not only hate to lose to those douchebags, but they're just not a good team this year. They really laid a freaking egg in that one. I was really disappointed in that, capping off an 0-3-0 road trip.
It was a terrible, terrible 2 points to leave on the table. That's the one if they wind up missing the playoffs by 2 points or in a tiebreaker, that is the game that will be on the table. That'll be the one.
Yeah, it's like the Patriots beating Cincinnati. The Bengals are still looking at that, but hopefully there's a lot of hockey left so far. It's still hard to figure out. I think overall, obviously, they've done better with Sacco. I'm still trying to figure out what do you make of this team? I don't mind if they finish as a 6th seed, if that's the case, and we got a lot of hockey to be played. I don't mind that, because maybe it's a blessing in disguise that they're not one of the top tier teams and whatever, and they'll be kind of under the radar a little bit. But overall, right now, Mick, here we are, 42 games in, just about halfway through the season. How do you assess this team? Where are they at? Do they have an identity?
Their identity has set out to be they're a hard-nosed north-south team that forechecks hard and has good speed in the bottom 6 and has some talent to two-way talent and sturdy down the middle with two-way centermen. Now that you had Lindholm to Coyle, and that would be their identity, and great goaltending. None of those things have been consistent this year. None of them. For inexplicable, I mean, Elias Lindholm was -4 in their last game. So, not their last game, but the
Ranger.
Which disaster am I thinking of?
Not the Islander game. Not
Yeah.
the
The bottom line is that the reunion. Yeah, putting together. Yeah, I guess they had a good result, an in-game result with Joe Sacco put together Brad Marchand with David Pasternak and Elias Lindholm as a unit, and there was offense that resulted, but they're a defensive disaster. So have the Bruins been able to clean up their defensive disasters, their uncharacteristic porousness, without drying up their goal scoring? In this last little stretch, no. 3 straight. The road trip, they went 0 for 3. The Lightning, by the way, just did the same thing out west. They had been surging. They still have all those games in hand, but they went out there and they went 0 for the West Coast, and they came home with nothing. And the Bruins just did it locally, and they came home with nothing. And then they got a home game against the Islanders, which is supposed to cure everything, right?
No.
They wind up playing that behind. They came back from 2 goals, but they wound up losing in OT. So they got a point. They grinded it out. They're not patting themselves on the back for that, but they are acknowledging that, hey, it's a step forward. They need to take a giant step forward to play this hockey team they're facing tonight. This is they fancied themselves a Stanley Cup contender after contending for the President's Trophy last year without Elias Lindholm or Nikita Zadorov, but with Jake DeBrusk. They felt like they could have like what hockey doesn't do aggregate. You don't say, okay, we're losing 20 goals here. Where are you going to find those 20 goals? You don't do hockey that way. What hockey is more of a chemistry thing where you say, okay, we need to bring out offense on a committee basis by the way we play. And they thought that the changes they made in the way they play would lead to that. Unfortunately, the start was awful. They were 8-9-3, I think, when they made the change. And since then, until this road trip where they lost all 3 in regulation, the Sacco era was looking pretty good. This last little stretch, plus, and maybe just as much, even though they got a point out of the Islanders game, just as much that they couldn't defend against the Islanders, a team that struggled mightily themselves and is not where they were a few years ago. That's cause for concern. It's 4 games to talk about now, and whether they score a little or score a lot, they can't seem to outscore their mistakes in that particular game. And so where do they go from here? I mean, Joe Sacco's job is simple. Just get them to play the right game that they're supposed to play according to that identity and hold up to it. And then individual performances need to be where they need to be. Maybe it's asking too much from this group of players, because a lot of them just haven't been as good as they were in the last few years. And that would include McAvoy, Coyle, Pasta, although Pasta just scored a few goals.
Yeah, he's got the
we'll see if he sustains it.
Mac's been playing pretty well, though, lately, right? He's got, 7 assists in the last few
Marchand's playing a much better brand of hockey than we saw from him at the beginning due to the surgeries he had in the summer. He has really picked up his game. I really like what I've been seeing from Brad Marchand. I can't say that about too many guys on the Bruins.
You think it's a question of losing to pathetic New York teams, Islanders and the Rangers, and one there, one here, playing down the level of competition, which I've seen them doing and I know they just lost to Washington, but they also beat Washington not too long ago either. And now you're going up against an Edmonton Oilers team. I think it's 14-3-1 in their last 18 games. They've won 4 in a row. I think great road trip. The Connor McDavid, Ryan Nugent, and Hopkins line, maybe the hottest line in all of hockey. I mean, it's just like crazy. Can the Bruins, do you think, neutralize them tonight? Do you think different mental state of mind for the Bruins because they're playing the Edmonton Oilers and not the pathetic Rangers and Islanders, and they fell into a trap there? You think it's a bigger mentality tonight? A mental,
Yeah, I do, and I think you hit on something real important there. That the Bruins are capable. They're one of those kinds of teams that, for whatever reason, the occasion brings out something better from them. And we've seen it already this season, where the occasion, and I'm looking forward that to the games in Florida, especially the one against the Panthers, that the occasion will bring out something better. Now, we know that the Bruins tend to see that Panthers uniform and completely lose their minds and play horribly and go bonkers. And they're a little like the Canucks every time they see the Bruins ever since the 11 final. They just kind of can't just play the game. I think that this is a real opportunity for the Bruins to right their ship under extremely magnified and significant circumstances. These games coming up here is a great chance for them to say, okay, this is who we are. This is what our season is going to be like. And let's all just get over it and just go and do this and be what we think we can be. And if it turns out that's not what they are, then management's going to have to decide, are we buying or are we selling? Because this team was not supposed to face that kind of a choice this deep into the season or this soon in the season. And it's incredible that we're here, but it's been a weird year for several teams. Yeah. Who would have thought the Rangers would go through something like what they've been through? And there are teams that have been incredibly up and down. And the Bruins need to decide what they're going to be, and they're going to run with the Bulls in these next few games, and we'll see.
I look at a team like the Flyers, Mick, and it seems like every game they play goes into overtime. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And you know, they started off okay. Torts is still, you know, he's hanging around, but they're 17, 18, and 5. It feels like they should have 17 ties, or at least 17. But there's another team I can't figure out. I can't figure out the Flyers at all.
I think that they've made some really good moves since they appointed Danny Briere GM, which is what since they put Keith Jones in charge. And I think that they've got a terrific pick there in Matvei Michkov. They do have a core of players there that are going to be facing contractual situations, and they're going to need to make some decisions. I do think they could use some more defensive defensemen. I do think that like you look at the Flyers and say, okay, why aren't they what the Washington Capitals are? Well, like Washington went out and got Chychrun on their D, one of the most talked about defensemen of the last few years, who was moving around when Arizona had him. And Ottawa, it didn't work out. The Caps, it's worked out. The Flyers, I don't know. I'm not in love with their goaltending. I do feel like they're a young team. I do feel like they get some pieces in place, but this is such a long haul to try to get it. It's a long slog for a team in the Eastern Conference to try to work its way up, because there's a lot of teams that are like that. And it's tough at the top where you have such established teams holding down 6 of those 8 playoff spots. It's a tough division to crack, tough conference to crack. And I think their division is not quite as crowded as the Atlantic this year, but you know, that's not a playoff record. You got to win more than half your games in order to make the playoffs on it if you have an average number of loser points.
Last thing, Mick, in the juniors, I saw the highlights, and what a game. U.S. topped Finland last night in overtime. It was a Hockey East free-for-all. Boston College and Boston University kids scoring all over the place. Teddy Stiga for BC, and then you had BU's Brandis Svoboda and Cole Hudson scoring late in the second period. I didn't see the whole game because just didn't see the whole game. I saw the highlights, but that was great to see a lot of Hockey East kids involved in that as they repeat as champions. So, what did I don't know if you get to watch it. The game was in Ontario last night.
Unfortunately, no. This year, I missed the whole thing. I just had to read the stories, listen to the podcasts.
Yeah.
But I usually enjoy the crap out of watching that tournament. But I don't have an NHL network right now, and so I wound up not being able to watch this tournament. So. I think USA Hockey's in a really good place. They've done a great job rebounding from the days of 10-year-olds quitting the game because their mother and father drove them 4 hours to a select tournament, and the coach doesn't like him, so he sits and freezes his ass off on the end of a bench somewhere in some meat locker rink, and hates hockey and quits at 10. Well, USA Hockey invented the American Development Model, the ADM. And you'll go to a practice now. You go to one of these practices with one of these junior programs and watch the 12-year-olds get the ice in 6 sections. And they work on skills. They switch, they rotate throughout the hour. And they work on different things about little bumper plays. Then they work on like a 3-on-3 where everybody gets to touch the puck a lot. They come off the ice, their cheeks are rosy. They're laughing their heads off. They're tired as hell, which makes their moms happy. And they go to bed on time. And USA Hockey is doing it right, and that's why they are where they are right now.
And how is all of this affecting high school hockey? There's still around, not just around New England, but even the Midwest obviously is huge in Minnesota and Michigan. Obviously, we know what high school hockey is around New England, but are kids still sort of defecting for juniors as opposed to staying at their respective high schools, private or Catholic, private or public?
It's always a tough decision when you get a kid at the right talent level that they need to be thinking about their future with the game and putting themselves in a best position to go get that Division I scholarship. It's tough. I think the thing that concerns me more for the case of high school hockey, for the sake of high school hockey is what I meant to say, than the odd player who is going to go play a junior program or attend a prep school instead, and lose the community aspect of high school hockey and playing with his friends he grew up with. That's a fact of life. That's just going to happen, and it has for quite a while. The thing that scares me is how hockey is priced out average families. If you look at just in Eastern Massachusetts, when you look at the Big Three conference with Brockton, New Bedford, and Fall River, all 3 of those towns have a community rink that was built in the early 70s right next to their high schools. New Bedford no longer has a varsity hockey team. 3,000 students.
Unbelievable.
Durfee and Fall River is now part of a co-op with, I want to say, the Diamond Votech team. And Brockton is now part of a co-op, I think, with Stoughton, neighboring Stoughton. So you have these schools that are gigantic in size in small urban settings, and with rinks right there across the parking lot. And they cannot sustain high school hockey varsity programs.
It's unbelievable.
That's because the kids in those towns are unable to afford it when a hockey stick costs $250. Skates cost only almost $1,000.
Really? Is that what it's up to now?
And just to get it's become, well, the synthetic stick era has really driven the price of
my God.
I mean, I know I'm old. For me, $7 for a stick was a lot when I was a kid, and so now it's gotten to a point where if parents have a kid in a city like that who can really play, then they're not going to be the building blocks to a high school varsity program where the coach has to go in the hallways to recruit kids because he saw them on a pond one time in a pair of skates and is going to try to coach them up so that they can field a team. That literally happened in New Bedford.
Really?
This is, oh yeah. Yep. Coach John Sullivan used to do that. He'd coach up a kid who was hardly playing and make him into a goaltender, and the kid would win a game in the final day of the season, and then they'd throw him a big party, and hockey would be part of his life after that, which is itself a wonderful story. But it's also pretty sad in a school of 3,000 students that your hockey culture has sagged to the point that the parents who actually have players cannot afford to let those players die on the vine in places like that where they don't even know if they're going to field a varsity team, or they have to be part of a co-op team. They move on. They get their kids into Catholic schools or prep schools or whatever they have to do in order to give that kid the opportunity to play something he's passionate about. Hockey is not in a great place economically. That's the biggest problem.
God. And I remember I thought I was king shit back, and I was My first pair
You
of
were king shit. I remember.
I mean, I started playing when I was 6. When I was 8, my dad got me a pair of Bauer Supremes because it was the only skate.
Yo, baby.
The only skate at Kelly's. Remember Kelly's sporting goods store in Cranston, Rhode Island was a huge place. But they're the only skate that had my size, and I needed them that week. So my dad graciously, shelled out $250, and that was when Bauer Supremes were it, with the the black on the blade and everything. Like that was like unheard of.
Baby. Oh, baby.
My God, it was just like I walked into the locker room. I'm 8 years old, and everybody's looking at me like, "Wow, where'd you get those?" But I think the most I ever paid for a stick I remember was like maybe $14 tops, and that was before and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, every decade, hockey seemed to get more expensive in a way that you didn't realize it could, but really, the synthetic stick era, the one piece, after having almost 20 years of aluminum shafts and fashion blades, kind of like the super blade thing, but in reverse, the male and the female ends.
Yes,
and so you have but ice hockey sticks have now they make them out of golf club shaft stuff, tennis racket stuff. They have certain flex points that's all digitized. They know exactly what these models. I wound up buying a few for myself out of a barrel in like the New Balance store in Brighton, right up the street from where the Bruins practice. I got them for like less than $100, and they happen to be close to my specs. So
that's great.
But I haven't actually tried them out because I don't play much anymore. But I would love to get back to it. I would love to get back to it.
I remember the video. You skating around your street in Walpole. I mean, just like literally like a huge stretch of street that was just such bad but ice and.
Well, that was a winter wonderland that lasted a few days. Yeah, we had an ice storm. It was a fantastic time until they went and salted everything, and I didn't realize it until I was out there one night, and suddenly, I'm stumbling around and what's going on here? I think I just ruined my skates. Yeah.
Mick, man, all the best. Always a pleasure. Thanks so much for everything. And hopefully I'll be watching the Beast tonight in Edmonton. And then I got to stay up and watch the Celtics at Denver. At 10.
My.
But at least it's on TNT where it's fun. And I love those guys. But,
get a nap, baby.
So if you want to get to the Garden on time, you should be leaving, next 10 minutes?
No. I'm going to take some time, have some lunch with my lovey.
Well, the traffic is so bad is what I'm saying.
Probably take the dog for a little walk. And
that's all. I'm just saying the traffic is so horrific. What time do you actually?
Boston.
Leave? Yeah. What time do you leave for?
I found a little garage behind the courthouse. I'm telling a secret here, where you can park for like $12 if you get in there after 5. So I hope we don't have any listeners today. Might not be able to get a spot.
What time you really seriously? What time you have to leave? 3, 2? I mean, to get there on time. I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's horrible. It's any given day is really, it could be way worse any given day. And you know what the biggest change is since you've been around? Rush hour almost doesn't end or start. It's kind of like it could be any time of day that you can run into problems. It's no longer defined by a clock. It's is the epicenter of it worse? Always. But, it could be just total gridlock at those times. Some of these days I just take the back roads. I go out by Fenway Park, Jamaica Way, VFW.
Mm-hmm.
I do that instead, the way I used to go into Red Sox games as a child. I'm just because
that's what we used to do.
That way at least, you go around the rotaries, the swirly ride. Houses on both sides. It's going to take longer, but you're also not going to be sitting there riding your brake, looking at somebody's taillights the whole time. It's much more pleasant.
Mick, you're the best. Thanks so much. Safe travels to Boston tonight for the game, and good luck to the Bees. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you. All the best. Oh, anything you want to plug? What's going on? Anything you need to plug before I let
anything
you go?
I need to plug? Well, if you want to read anything I write, follow me on Twitter at Mick Colagio, and Twitter. It's called X now. And there it is. Thank you. And I linked there my columns. I got one up this morning, last night, I should say, on the state of the Bruins and my Rink Wrap blog. If you ever see that Money Power issue of the Hockey News that came out recently, I write the Bruins article for that one. And that's kind of it for now. I go on to also Pucks with Hags, Joe Haggerty's podcast.
Yes. Yep.
If you find that on social media, I'm a frequent guest.
As you should be. Mick, you're the best. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. All the best.
Pleasure, Pete.
All righty. All righty. Speaking of Angel, we welcome back Angel Martinez. Going to get out of here so you can go. You've had like 2 hours sleep the last day or so. So anyway, what do you got planned for the rest of the day, Angel?
I wish I could take and kick up my feet and do absolutely nothing, but more stuff, website, more stuff on the socials, more communications with different people. I was trying to line up some other stuff here on the network as well. So, the day is starting to begin all over again as soon as we're off air.
All right, I'm going to have a late breakfast, and we'll be back tomorrow morning. Get some great. Me O'Brien's going to join us at 9:05 tomorrow. Bill Sparrows will join us at 8:30. Me at 9:05, and who knows who as we do a Hump Day Wednesday tomorrow. But thanks to Angel Martinez. Thanks to Mick Colagio. Thanks to Jay Flannelly. I am Pete. I'm back tomorrow at 7 a.m. We lost another degree. We're down to 50 degrees here in Fort Myers. I can't handle it. The humanity. All right, everybody. Back tomorrow at 7 a.m. on the Coastal Sports Network. Bye-bye.